Alright, Ton True Crown aggro. So this is something that seems fairly straightforward, but there's way more complexity to it than there probably should be. So let me show what I'm talking about here. So let's see, we have God mode on because I'm going to be True Crown teleporting a lot and dying a lot. So let's go to a level that has Ton on it. I think if you go to any of these 2-4s, it'll just always generate the Moon Challenge. I think it prioritizes that over the BM. No, it does not. Okay, cool. We're off to a great start. If I go there again, though, it'll generate the challenge instead. I don't know how it prioritizes which of those to do. Thank you for the hydrate. Alright, so as you may or may not know, according to the lore, Beg is Tun's foolish brother, a follower of Hundun. And therefore, if you pick up his funny jester True Crown, she gets mad at you. Or if anyone on your team has it in co-op. Essentially, if any player on the team has the True Crown, then there's a check that Tun does for every player under certain circumstances that will cause her to aggro. So if you don't know what this is because you don't use the True Crown, then first of all, good for you for never using the True Crown. And then second of all, it's this interaction right here. You step through the door of the shop and she just gets mad at you because you're apparently a buffoon. Which, I mean, honestly, that's fair because I am absolutely a nincompoop if I pick this item up. So we're trying to figure out exactly what the science is behind why she gets mad, because it doesn't make as much sense as you might think it does. So let me actually restart this one so I don't have the True Crown. We're going to go to a level of Ton, make a save state, and then from there we could pick it up and do various funny things. Okay, we got Black Market again, so if I go here again, we will get the challenge. Let me also turn on some of my toolbox mods. Yeah, pest control, that's the one. Alright, that'll get rid of all the nuisances. Alright, that'll be a little bit more peaceful. Alright, we just need to see Ton here. We don't need all these random ass enemies everywhere making noise. Yeah, we're doing Ton aggro science, specifically True Crown Ton aggro science. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and let me actually put this in the favorites bar. We're gonna be doing this one a lot. Get rid of these ones. And then also teleporter is the other thing we need. And then I'll put a True Crown next to myself here. Okay, so this is going to be our baseline for the test. I will create some save states. So this means that I can do whatever I want here. And then I can hit a hotkey and it's like it was all a dream. It never happened. Again, there's no visual feedback that I'm doing this, so I'm going to call it out every time I make a save state, just so it's not super confusing to anyone who's not precisely following along here. Every time you see me roll back to this state, I just hit a hotkey. Very excellent feature to have. So the baseline is that if you walk through the door with the True Crown, Ton gets mad at you. So the other thing that Ton will get mad at you for is if you pick up the True Crown and then teleport into the shop, that will also anger Ton. As far as I'm aware, those are the only two things that are checked. And that means there are things we can do to get into the shop that will not anger Ton, even though we have the True Crown. Most of these I think are known already. Like I think Dudu made a video about that. You could post that video if you want. Speaking of posting videos, what is this? Is this a Rickroll? What did you post here? Okay, no, it's a... Yeah, okay, it's Jay whipping the lava off the thing. Yeah, again, I don't know why that happens, but I did science on that, so I'm not going to show that one on stream. The viewers at home can look for the VOD for that. It's just lava. It's lava jank. I'm pretty sure is what I called it. Ton, leave me alone. Alright, so the first thing you could do is get into the shop without teleporting and without going through the door. Because, let's see, if you listen closely here, I'm going to shut up for a moment. That little ding right there. That is one of the triggers. I'm not 100% certain, but I think that the devs, when they were hacking the True Crown into the game like 2 seconds before release, I think what they did was they needed a mechanism to figure out if the player entered the shop with the True Crown, and they picked that trigger, the one that makes the bell go ding. It's the same one that shopkeepers have as well, and I think Caveman Shop also does this. Essentially, if you pass that threshold with the True Crown. So if I pick this thing up and get really close, it will not trigger until frame by frame I step through the door. There's the ding and Ton gets mad on the same frame. So I believe that is the trigger for entering the shop like normally, not teleporting into it. That'll be the first thing that sets it off. Your 28 strategies for Ton with True Crown. The only strategy you couldn't make work was freeze a player and throw him through the door with the mid. It didn't anger Ton until it hit her. Remind me about that one again. like closer to the end of the segment. I want to get the baseline stuff out of the way first. And yeah, you're free to shill that video in my chat if you want. I might look at the video later if there's a specific one that I'm having trouble reproducing. It's a good video, even if half of them do boil down to just like blameless, like pacifist, non-aggro, like damage to the shop. But it is interesting because it shows off a lot of like different tech to accomplish that goal. So it'll give people a bunch of ideas. Let's see here. So anyways, save state. I need to make sure I don't hit the wrong hotkeys and confuse myself here. But yeah, remind me about that one like closer to the end of the segment. And I'll try to look into that case. I'll look into weird edge cases towards the end. So the first thing that you could do is get into the shop without going through the door. There's a couple ways that you can do that. One of them would be if you found a layered door in the level. So let me go see if I could find one. There might not be a sister in this level because unfortunately I kind of spawned the sister already. Oh, there's one. Okay. Maybe there's a duplicate. I guess that just spawns a duplicate because they don't check that you've been to the level already. So this is not exactly a good layout for this, but if you pretend that I was able to like teleport it, oh, right, she'll get mad. Well, this is a really bad example then. I would need the layer door to be like above it. Yeah, this is hacky, but I don't want to try to find a level that has this. So chat, just take my word for it. If I were to have like a layered door right here, and then I were to teleport in and then go through the door, Ton does not get mad at you when you do that. And then if you have the true crown, you can do the same thing, and Ton will still not get mad at you. And that is because you have entered the shop without going through this door and without teleporting. So you see, I have the true crown right now. Ton is an idiot and doesn't care. But if I leave and come back in, now Ton suddenly notices that I have the true crown and gets mad. So that's what I mean by entering the door is the check. It's not like being in the shop. It is actually... Oh, nice true crown. It is actually going through this little threshold right here. The clover predictability. Now that'll add more spice to it. We'll see how often I get 1 in 5. I'll probably give myself the clover at some point. I need to buy the challenge. Look, I'll do all that. I'll do all that later. We don't have to do that right now. Let's keep it simple. So the first thing that I want to demonstrate here is this is just super basic. If these tiles were gone, let's say that something blew these up and it wasn't blamed on me. I could show a couple ways to do that later. I could just jump over the door. And this does not anger Ton. Ton does not care. It is only going through this door into the shop that triggers the aggro. Now, if I skim the door like that, that will still get Ton mad at me. And there are a lot of ways that you could do this kind of thing here. So if I give myself... I'm going to start spawning in some items just to make this a little easier. So if I give myself paste, for instance, there's a lot of ways to do this. This is essentially just blameless, like, blameless shop damage or, like, pacifist kills. Like, it's all the same kind of tech. And it's essentially the idea that if Ton doesn't think I'm responsible for what broke the shop, then Ton doesn't get mad at me. So what I could do here is I can just get like a tiki man or something. Now, let me go ahead and make him hold still real quick. Yeah, right there, that should work. All right, so if I make him hold still, make a save state, I'm going to turn off God mode. And first of all, if you look at this character, Guy Spelunky here, I just have a skin over him. And we look at, I forget where this is shown, right here. I don't have an owner. Like, nobody owns my character. You gonna lurk? All right, you have a good one. If you pay, she doesn't get angry with door entry. How interesting. Does that like reset the aggro state? Okay, we'll have to look into that too. But if I go ahead and take some damage, you'll see now I have an owner. And it's a little easier to see it here. Now my player entity's owner is that tiki man right there. Now the thing is, I'm going to make a save state again. If I were to go and bomb the shop now, even though I have an owner, Ton's mad at me. Ton thinks that I did that, which I mean I did. Let me turn God mode back on. However, if I were to bomb the shop and then conveniently take some fall damage... I did take the fall damage because I had God mode on. Hold on. God mode back off. Notice how Ton didn't get mad at me that time. And that is something called stun ownership pass-through, or at least that's the name that I hear most people use to refer to it. And what that boils down to is I was stunned and airborne when the bomb went off, and the game was like, okay, something blew up my shop, let me go blame it on something. So what happened here was Ton went and checked who owned the bomb. I owned the bomb. And then it went and it checked, was I stunned? Like, was I owned by something else? Was I stunned in the air? And if so, that means I'm considered like a projectile or something. I don't know exactly what the developer intent was, but essentially the game thinks that this enemy is like what stunned me and what caused the chain of interactions that resulted in the bomb going off and blowing up the shop. And so Ton blamed the Tiki Man for that bomb going off because I was stunned and I was like falling when it happened. That would not happen if I had not touched that Tiki Man. It's just due to the jank. This is pacifist jank. Pacifist jank is gross and confusing. There's like, I think, what is it, Moss Ranking has, or no, Spelunky.fy has like a whole section on pacifist jank. We have some lunatic pacifist experts in the community that can explain more about this. But just take my word for it that what I did here is essentially a blameless vandalism of the shop. And that is a way that you could destroy walls on the shop to be able to get in with the True Crown. Because now if I go ahead and pick this up, I could just go in and out of the shop. I didn't use Overlunky to do any of this. I just used stun ownership pass-through to break the wall of the shop. There's lots of ways that you could do this. You could blow up the bottom, you could like step on robots, set off landmines. There's a few things I think you could do that with like landmines that wouldn't even blame the player. Back items, especially if you don't pick them up. Oh, sorry, Ton, watch out for that. I'm not gonna go through every single one because that's not what the point of this is. Just take my word for it that we have a way to do that. In Volcana, you can also use a spike ball to excavate out the top of the shop. Like, oops, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Why is that? I'm trying to delete these. I'm clicking the wrong button. You can use a spike ball, essentially like this, and carve a hole through the shop. You will not get blamed for this either. So if you're in Volcana and a spike ball is above a shop, you can make a hole in the ceiling. Obviously we're in jungle, so that doesn't exactly work, but you can make a hole in the ceiling and then just go in from the top, and Ton won't get mad at you. And I do have the True Crown, so if I go back in like this, Ton gets mad. That's the gist of how that works. Yeah, Blue Red's one of our resident pacifist experts, and we'll gladly, hopefully gladly, I don't know if I'm throwing you under the bus here, we'll probably gladly answer any of your absurd pacifist questions. I only like superficially understand all the implications of how stun ownership pass-through works. I'm just saying that you could do it. So that is an example of how you can make a hole in the shop and go in. So let me give myself some money here. Just some diamonds. Let's see, I don't think I need anything else right now, so I'm gonna just save state again. Alright, so now Dudu is telling me here, I didn't actually even know this, that if I pay, apparently she doesn't get mad anymore. So let's pretend that I did a blameless vandalism of the shop, and then I go in, and then I buy the challenge. Yep, you're right, Ton just doesn't care anymore. Even I actually didn't know about this one. Ton doesn't care anymore, apparently. Once you have purchased the challenge, she doesn't get mad. But if you teleport in, apparently, she does get mad. So in case this wasn't already stupid and inconsistent enough, we're already like getting into the meat of the jank here, because apparently those two things use different logic. I don't know why, but like, oh, that's weird actually, the death screen. Let me turn that off just in case that destabilizes thing. No death screen. So I don't even know why that would be the case here, and we're gonna probably not have as many answers to the why questions as I would like, because this ultimately boils down to how badly they program the True Crown checks. So we're just interested in the what. What happens when you do certain things? What works and what doesn't? Why is going to ultimately boil down to bad programming, I think, in almost every case, because the thing about this is none of this had to happen. They could have done this extremely easily if they had just used the camera zoom trigger for this. Did I mess up my zoom at some point? Well, not great. Now it's not working. Why is that not working anymore? Yeah, you saw it earlier. It was literally zooming in. I'm going to blame the death screen. Well, that ruins my example that I was going to go for. But normally when you step into a shop... Can I reset this? I don't know why it's not doing it. Whatever. Normally when you step into a shop, your camera zooms in and it starts playing the shop music. They could have hijacked that check for the purposes of the True Crown. And basically, if the player enters the shop with the True Crown via whatever logic they use to check the music and the camera zoom, then that would be what triggers ton aggro if you have the true crown. That's all they had to do to make this work, and that would have caught literally every single instance of entering the shop. But instead, for some reason, they decided to use the door and then teleporting into the shop as the only two things that they check. And the door check is very situational. So the first thing that we just saw there is that if you manage to get into the shop without using the door, and then you pay for the challenge, Ton just doesn't care that you have the true crown anymore. I don't know why. Again, I have no idea why they programmed the logic this way, but once you have purchased the challenge, you don't have to care anymore about that check. However, if you teleport into the shop, you do have to care because Ton will still get mad at you for some reason. So that's one bit of nonsense. Yeah, TPing is an entirely different check. I'm almost certain that they just used a totally different block of logic, possibly made by a different programmer after COVID-19 instead of before it or something. And essentially, it just isn't consistent at all. There's no consistency. Yeah, added later is a band-aid fix. So I don't know why. Would she decide to care after finishing the challenge? We will find out. So we're gonna go ahead and check that. So again, blamelessly break the door, go into the shop, buy the challenge. I have God mode on, so if I true crown teleport, I'm not gonna die or anything. And then I'm just gonna break the matic. So I finish the challenge and I go back outside. Ton still doesn't care at all. But if I true crown teleport, which I timed right there perfectly because I'm a god gamer, Ton does care. So teleporting is just a completely different check. Just for whatever reason, they patched it in. Okay, so this was actually after release is what you're saying? I'm not even surprised, honestly, because most of their patches after release just broke something else whenever they implemented them. Yes, I'm not even surprised by that development. So if I go ahead and pick up the true crown here, the other thing is checking teleporting out. So if I just like overlunky teleport myself into the shop, by the way, it's the same thing as me just doing this. So if you see me just click myself into the shop, it's the same concept. We need to like streamline the process a bit. And as you can see here, teleporting out of the shop is also completely fine. Ton does not care. Well, that's interesting. I was actually low enough that time to trigger the door. But Ton does care if you go into the shop under those circumstances. So if I do this, I want to actually check that specific case. So if I do that, that's a little bit too low. We're going to check the size of this in a moment, by the way. We're going to test the size of that hitbox. Yeah, so that's actually a little bit too low. Like, once I get the teleport alignment, which puts my feet at the bottom of the grid, actually a little bit below the bottom of the grid, that is just enough to skim the collision. Oh, that's cute. Oh, there's another one. I'm learning things every day. Is it the bell? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the bell ringing hitbox. Instead of the check for entering the shop that changes the music, it zooms in your camera when Overlunky doesn't break your camera zoom, they use the bell ringing hitbox for some godforsaken reason. Like, whichever like underpaid developer was the one that they assigned to deal with the True Crown, this was the first check that developer found that worked for entering a shop. Instead of the one that changes the camera, they just picked this check right here, the one that makes a little ding sound when you enter the shop. Again, I don't know why. I can only guess that this is the result of just incompetence on the part of the development team for this game, because that has been the explanation for so many other things that we've seen here. So the thing that we just observed that is also kind of stupid and cursed already is that if I anger Ton and then teleport in again, she gets mad again, while not stunned apparently, because you notice it didn't happen the first time I did it. Oh, and again. Oh, you just keep doing it. Like, why? I don't understand this game. I don't know if it had anything to do with the stun or if it was on cooldown, but you can just keep doing it. And Ton will just get mad at you every time you do it. Like, after a short cooldown. I don't even know. I don't even know why that would happen. Like, why it's on some kind of cooldown, but not like a really long one. And you can see here, if I go in through the door, Ton doesn't care anymore. And I think that's because Ton has essentially abandoned this shop to be aggroed instead. So like the door trigger is just not active anymore. I suspect that if this trigger stayed active, she would probably also get mad every time I step through this door. It's just based on the text box. You think that's what it is? Like it just checks. That's what it looked like, but I wasn't sure. I don't want to like say for sure that's what it is, but it could be as janky as that. They actually check if the text box is there and just play the sound in the text if the box has faded out. So yeah, this is already looking kind of silly here. You're assuming teleporting from inside to still inside triggers. Yeah, that also triggers. We actually need to not have the pullover to test that. I'm gonna walk aggroed. All right. Good luck with that. Good luck. You'll be fine. Yeah, have a good one. We'll probably still be doing this when you get back. All right, so if I put myself in the shop, and then I'm gonna make another save state here, and then they get 1 and 5. There we go. You see, I teleported from in the shop to into the shop, and that's still aggroed ton. So yeah, it just teleporting into the shop is the only thing that they check. Monthly stream. Excuse me, I stream like once every 3 weeks. That's slightly more often than a month. Just a smidge. A little. There might be 2 streams in 1 month if you get lucky. It has happened before. A rare occasion indeed. You could test the text box thing by pausing the game to remove the box. And let's see, how does that work exactly? I see, yeah, that kind of got rid of it. Okay, Time, can you just like go in timeout for a second and stop being on? There we go. All right. Let's see here. Alright, so yeah, it's waiting for the text box to go away. So let me trigger it, pause to get rid of it, and then with frame advance, let's teleport back in again. Yeah, it's looking like what it is. Why is that even what they check? Yeah, it's literally the text box. If the text box is gone, then she could just do it again. Oh my god, is that what the trigger is for the tutorial? I never do that. Oh god, I never do that. I didn't know that that's how you get that text box to go away. I thought that was just always on a long delay of mashing before you could get the referee to let you start the race. Okay, so this is just a holdover from the other NPCs. They're just trying to like do that. I wonder then. So here's a question. If I trigger a text box from Ton and then I go out and then teleport back in while that text box is up, is Ton capable of aggroing? I wonder if that's possible. So let's see if we can articulate that. So normally you step into the shop and you get welcome to the moon challenge. So if I step into the shop, get the true crown and leave and then teleport back in while that text box is on, do you think I'm going to get ton aggro? Like the question is whether or not the text box event is tied to whether you get aggro or if it's independent. It gives you aggro and then it also spawns the text box if it can. My guess is that I'm going to get aggro, even if the text box is up, but then she's not going to make the funny sound. I think it's independent. I hope it's independent. But you got to remember who made this game and how badly programmed it is, so it may very well not be the case. Let's go find out. So I do not have the true crown. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the shop. Let's do this with frame advance just to be very careful about it. So there's that text box. We're going to pick it up. And then we're going to teleport into the shop. I don't want to telefrag tons, so that's why I keep jumping. Yeah, and she aggroes. It actually resets that text box, interestingly enough. So there's more to it than just the text box existing. As you can see here, that actually reset the text box. If it's text box dependent, oh god, you're right. It doesn't look like it is, so I think we're good on that. I don't think we're getting desynced from that. It actually replaces the text box. That might have been something they programmed in, because I think most NPCs will replace their like introduction text box if you piss them off. So there could be like override mechanics for text boxes, and this one just happens to work. Let's see. There's no setting for text box duration, right? I want to go down this rabbit hole, so I think this would be here. There is. Oh god, I'm gonna forget to change this back chat, but let's do a little bit of experimentation. I want to see if like congratulations for finishing the challenge like has different properties than the greeting text box. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna set it to long, which is gonna make these stay even longer. So let's see how long that is. 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh my, dude, that is so long. That text box is on screen forever. All right, so let's see. What are we gonna do here for this test? I want to finish the challenge like right by the entrance, and then go through the door, get the true crown, and then try to teleport into the shop. So that's what we're gonna try to do here. So grab the teleporter. I'm gonna put the true crown. Is grid snap turned on? No, it is not. All right, so I'm gonna put the true crown like right here so I can pick it up on my way out. Oh, I need to buy the challenge. All right, we'll go in. I'll make a save state for this one. And then I just need to destroy the Matic and leave. So if I were to just take it up here, I'm just gonna put it in the wall. This is just like a hypothetical, like maybe this will work, maybe it won't. So we're gonna complete the challenge with frame advance here while I'm right on the door. Give myself as much time as possible to do this. All right, so I don't know why that took so many frames for Ton to notice that I finished it. Oh, actually, no, she doesn't say it from... Oh, that's a different text box. Okay, so she'll... Then I didn't have to do all this setup. She'll actually only do this dialogue when I step through the door. There it is. Okay, so that's the dialogue that we're interested in. Makes you wonder if a Crocman TPing in. Oh god, there's so many things we could check here. Well, we'll try everything, or at least everything I think I can get to. Alright, so challenge completed. Congratulations, whatever. I'm gonna do that. My coyote frames to end. So while that text box is on my screen, I actually have both of them here. Now let me make another save state. I'm gonna try to TP. Actually, let me stay up here. I'm gonna try to TP into the shop. And of course, I picked up the clover, so I made this way harder for myself than I needed to. I'll just teleport out and back in instead. We'll turn around. Yeah, so she still gets aggroed. It looks like we might be good on the text boxes, because those are the only two I could think of. And it looks like in both cases, the Ton aggro takes priority. Like, it just replaces the other text box with the one for Ton getting mad at you for teleporting into the shop. That's what it seems to be, at least. And if we, just for consistency, let's check the door as well, because we know that it behaves a little bit differently. So if I leave the shop, and then go back in, you turn off text boxes, does she make the noise? I don't know, we'll find out. Yeah, she doesn't get mad because I finished the challenge. So everything here is dumb, but at least it's behaving kind of as we were expecting it to. So let's go back to this state. All right, so text box thing doesn't work. If anybody thinks of any other text box jank, we can give it a shot. The last thing I am going to try here is I can you turn them off? Can you? You can't turn them off, can you? Or is this here? Oh, it's these. Okay, it's this one, I think, is the one that we need to turn off. Yeah, toggles whether dial. Okay, so that's the one I think you're talking about here. Does she make the noise? Let's find out. I have no idea. Well, that one made the noise. Let's try the teleport. Yeah, it makes the noise. So the noise and the dialogue are kind of tied together, but they still play even if you have the text boxes turned off. But then for some reason, the repeat dialogue and noise does check if that text box is already up for some reason. Oh, keep teleporting. I see. All right, let's find out. I'm gonna put Ton in baby jail just so I don't have to get hit constantly doing this. I don't know. I'm gonna just, this noise is already weird to me on this true crown. Yep, you're right though. Every single time you teleport in, on ASMR. Yeah, that's what I think people came here for. All right, that's anything else about the text boxes. I can't think of any other edge cases. It looks like at least they programmed that correctly, in the sense that it doesn't cause desync or any other weird issues. I think I got all my settings back to what I had before. I hope I do. It's amazing how that, by the way, that's 10% opacity according to this game. Like, this game uses some super weird scaling algorithm in their shaders for opacity, because that's 10% apparently. So I think that's what I have it set to. I don't know why. I think a lot of the shaders in this game do that. Like, a lot of the textures, if they have transparency, it falls off like almost instantly. Like 50% is almost completely opaque, and then it just suddenly drops off to basically invisible. I have no idea why they did it like that. If you're making a game, don't do that, please. It's really annoying for modders. It just gives you so little to work with on the opacity scaling. I've like never seen a game that does that. Okay, rant over. I don't think anybody else has anything about the text boxes. No desync in your dialogue. Look, it's not over yet. It's possible that we'll find something later. If anybody has any ideas, let me know. So somebody mentioned a Crocman, and I love Crocmen. So let's find out what this was. If a Crocman TPing in makes ton aggro if you have the True Crown. There's two enemies that we could test that with. Leprechaun and Crocman. I think the Leprechaun teleport is not actually a teleport. I don't think it can telefrag things. But I could be wrong, because the Leprechaun specifically tries not to teleport onto a certain like mask of entities. So it is possible that Leprechauns can telefrag, but they just never do it because they're programmed not to pick a spot that has an entity in it. And then Crocman, of course, doesn't give a shit and will more than happily ruin everything to telefrag. So let me go get a Crocman. Just put him over there. Actually, let me get rid of these first. I'm just trying to make like some steps that I can put these on so I can pull them over later. Make some more save states. Alright, so Crocman. Crocman is not affected by having the clover or anything like that. I don't think this is going to blame the player. But let's find out. So we're going to put a Crocman in a position where he definitely will teleport into the shop, like no doubt about it. Should step forward a bit. Okay, he's fine. This is important. If I need to step on the front of the Crocman. Actually, I think that doesn't matter because I spawned him in after the player, but if this Crocman had spawned before the player and I stomped his back, he would actually turn around to teleport, because they programmed this game badly. I think this guy will always teleport forward due to being a higher entity ID than my player, but just for safety, I'm gonna do it this way anyways. Yeah, Ton doesn't care. I didn't think the game would be this bad, but then again, Freeze Ray apparently violates Pacifist even if you don't shoot it, so you never know with this game, but that particular case looks like it's fine. She only cares if I step into the shop with the True Crown. The Crocman doesn't matter. Anything else with Crocman? I'm scrolling up to see if anyone else had any other ideas. See text boxes. Don't see anything else. Inside, yeah, okay. I think I got everything. Again, hit me again if you think I forgot something. Freeze Ray. That's outside of my domain. But apparently, I have not done science on this. I'm not going to do it in this block, but just to briefly summarize, my understanding of it is that like vendors will like blame you if they get frozen for any reason or something. I don't remember exactly what it is. I don't know if it violates pacifist specifically. It has something to do with like the player getting blamed for a freeze shot. Like even if the player didn't shoot it, like if you get like a caveman or like an unowned like hired hand or something to shoot it, like they'll still blame you for it, or they'll get aggroed or something, but they won't blame any particular player. That, again, I don't have the explanation for that, so someone else is going to have to cover that, or we'll have to do it in a future science stream. So back to the subject of this. What else? Let's see what else we can do here. So let me just summarize what I think I figured out so far. I want to figure out what this actually. I want to figure out what the trigger is for stepping into the shop that actually sets this off. We'll go over like a few edge cases for going into the door, but we know that we can just go in around the door and Ton doesn't get mad. We know that teleporting into the shop pretty much unconditionally angers Ton, even if you've done the challenge. So if you've done the challenge, or I think even purchased it, she doesn't get mad if you go through the door. But if you teleport in under any circumstances, Ton does get mad at you for some reason. Now, here's something I want to check, is if Ton has an accident, and then you do this, Nothing seems to happen for that case. Let me go check the game state real quick to see if Ton gets mad at you. So I think street crowd. Yeah, no Ton aggro. So Ton's not mad at me for doing that. And I'm actually surprised that she doesn't get mad at you for this either. They might have actually programmed this correctly. Yeah, no door sound. It seems like door sound means that Ton gets mad. No door sound, no anger. And I'm surprised that this here doesn't actually anger Ton. They might have actually checked this correctly. If Ton is dead, the shop is disowned, and like just no aggro can occur anymore. And then I think telefragging a Ton corpse doesn't give you aggro, unlike shopkeepers. Oh, hold on, man, that was actually weird. Does that give you aggro? No, never mind. That has the same bug shopkeepers do. If you telefrag Ton, it counts as a murder, even if Ton is dead already. That's already known about for shopkeepers. I did not know that Ton has that property. So if you accidentally have Ton die and you really want Ton aggro for some reason, just telefrag the body. You'll get Ton aggro. Oh, you do low percent pacifist. All right. Yeah, then I don't. Oh, Jesus. I don't know exactly like what the mechanics are. I just know there's something cursed about the freeze ray interactions. It's not as simple as freeze ray violates pacifist. It has something to do with you getting blamed for nonsense that it shouldn't. Does crushing it count for aggro? I don't think so. I think this is another one that they just hacked in. It's a little bit off topic, but we'll go ahead and check this real quick. We'll use the shield because it has the same property usually as like push blocks. So if I do this and I check my street cred, 0 Ton aggro. And that one there I don't think gave me any Ton aggro. It's specifically teleport that like has an extra check, and the devs forgot that if the thing that you telefrag is dead, it shouldn't give you Ton aggro or shopkeeper aggro, so it just counts as another kill. It just runs the code again and it just counts as a kill on an NPC that's already dead. For some reason. Just this again, this game is a dumpster fire of bad programming, so I'm not even surprised. I just want to check something here. Yeah, the bell goes off. Oh, that's interesting actually. It's not quite tied to the bell. Yeah, okay, I was thinking like something doesn't seem right here. It's not quite the same as the bell. Because you can see here the bell is still going off, but I'm not getting aggro anymore. There's something more to it than just the bell. It's not just a one-to-one relationship. It does appear to be the same exact hitbox. So speaking of the hitbox, I want to figure that out. So let's see, I don't think I missed anything. Okay, let's figure out what the hitbox is for this aggro mechanic. Now the thing that's important about this is you need to be moving for this to trigger. So if one of these, I need to zoom in. Alright, so I have the true crown right now, so frame by frame, if I just put myself in the door like this, nothing happens. If I move to the right, nothing happens. If I move to the left for one frame, Ton gets mad at me. It actually was on the second frame, so we'll do a little bit of testing on that to see if we can figure out what's going on there. But there's actually a couple checks for like whether or not you're going into the shop, and I think part of it is you need to be moving to the left. So first let's figure out what the hitbox is, and then let's figure out what the movement requirements are to be detected as like actually entering the shop. Yeah, they run from the trigger that caused the bell, but there must be an additional check. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why buying the challenge would then not result in you getting aggro anymore with the true crown. I'm not sure. I'm not sure actually how well known that was, because that means that if you have the most common case is in Temple, I think on 4-2, where you get an early true crown at 4-2 instead of the City of Gold, and you want to get the elixir. I think you could buy, if for whatever reason it worked out this way, I think you could actually buy the like challenge and then go get the true crown and then go back down and get the elixir, and Ton wouldn't get mad at you anymore. If for whatever reason that order of operations was like the most convenient way to do it. Normally you would just get the elixir before even picking up the true crown, but I think that option exists if that edge case was ever useful to somebody. Does it ring if you get hit into the shop? I think it does. Again, let's figure out the hitbox and then we'll figure out what causes the bell to ring. So we know that moving left causes the bell to trigger in this particular case, so that's what we're going to test first. So let me delete some blocks around this, And we're going to turn the grid on as well, because I think this is going to matter. My theory is that the trigger for this door is the left half of this tile right here. Because the hitbox for the door entrance is this 1x2 here. So that there doesn't seem to be like a visual trigger for anything. I don't think there's any like logical entity associated with this either. I think it's just a coordinate check for something in the shop itself. I don't know of any logic entity that's responsible for this. So we're just gonna have to kind of brute force this and try to figure out what it is. So I'm going to give myself the true crown. I'm gonna stand over here. And then I'm going to make a save state, and then we're just going to kind of run forward a few times to try to figure this out. So let me just save those two. Alright, so we just entered my theoretical trigger range. So I think next frame the bell is going to ring, and I'm going to get ton aggro. And you'll have to make sure your audio is up at least a little bit to hear this. I should be a little louder than the game audio. I don't have a good way to indicate this, so just take my word for it. When I say that I just got ton aggro, that means that I heard the sounds, in case you can't hear it very clearly. So if we go back to this again, right there, I just stepped into the shop. Let me actually get this up here so you can see what my coordinates are. And then I think on this frame, I'm going to get ton aggro. So the position, let's see, is this under... No, chat shouldn't be in this spot. Alright, so I'll leave this here. Alright, so what you need to look for here is position X on my character entity here. So my theory is that the threshold is 11. And we're currently at 10.9 moving to the left, so it's going to be shrieking. My theory is that the threshold is 11, and then if I'm within this range on that particular frame, it's going to trigger. What are we uh-ohing? Something bad happened, or you just dropped by and you figured out what we're testing already? If so, welcome to the stream. And there we go, we just got ton aggro. So the question here is, what exactly is that threshold? Yeah, ton science. We've already found some cursed knowledge, but unfortunately not anything terribly useful. We'll see if we can get to that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set my position to exactly 11, like this. Now my theory is, watch, I don't have a theory for this. I don't know yet if the game thinks I am in this trigger or not. Some things in this game like round up and some don't. So let's hold left. Now I'm definitely in the trigger. And now I get ton aggro. So it looks like 11 exactly doesn't count. Or it's the fact that I'm not moving when I'm at that threshold. So what we're gonna... wrong save state. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna start moving ahead of time. Then set the coordinate to 11. And let's see if on the next frame it triggers. It does not. That might not be a robust way to do this, though. Yeah, I'm trying to mathematically guess what the programming of the game is doing in this situation. So if I stay here, and then I move, I don't know when the game does this check. It really seems like I'm not in it. Let's set ourselves to just barely be in the shop instead. So we're just going to do that. We are just barely in the shop. It's rounding up, but my actual X position is just ever so slightly less than 11. Let's see if this does a first frame aggro. It actually doesn't. So that one still didn't do it. Now what if I was a little bit outside of the shop and I did the same thing? I stepped into it under those conditions. I think I can just set this value because I'm not parented to anything. So if I set my value... sorry. If I set my value to something a little bit higher, and then I move, still doesn't trigger. It seems like I have to be in there for one frame ahead of time, and then it triggers. Rope of the door helps you go in as far as possible. Yeah, we're essentially doing the same thing. So if I were to place a... Yep, that's where I wanted that game. If I were to place a rope and do this, and then get off the rope, you'll notice my position is exactly 11, and that's just because the center of this tile is the coordinate 11. And as we've been seeing here, 11 doesn't cause ton of aggro. If I do that, now we're inside it. It looks like you need to be inside of the trigger, and then it will go off. Okay, I have a way to test this, but yeah, the rope will essentially align you to the same position. So you can get as close as conceivably possible by using a rope. and you'll be fine. You won't get aggro. I think you can't aggro her with the rope anyways because you don't have any horizontal velocity when you're doing that. There's no way to get a rope misaligned like over here, so you can't like pull yourself into the shop with a rope or anything, which would be kind of sick, but I don't believe there's any way to do that. Unfortunately, that'd be kind of neat if there was a way to do that, but the rope is limited to just being aligned to the grid. So anyways, the thing that I wanted to test here was, instead of setting myself to this position exactly, I'm going to set myself 1 unit of movement outside. So I'm going to move 0.032 on this first frame. So I will set myself to that. So we are 1 frame of movement outside of the shop. And then I move in. We are now exactly aligned. I wonder if this is perfect or if the floating point precision... We're actually inside the shop because of the floating point precision, so it rounded down a little bit, and we still didn't get any aggro. And then on the next frame, we should get aggro. And then there's one more thing I want to test that will confirm my suspicions. So there's our aggro. And then if I do the same exact thing, but I'm just a smidge further outside, so I'm just adding a tiny, like a millionth of a unit. So we're just a little further out. That actually might be too small. I think that's going to round off. We'll do that one. Okay, that one should be good. Low tech cutty. So now if I move into the shop, on the first frame, I should be just so slightly outside of the shop instead. And then I move into the shop and I don't get aggro. And then it triggers. Okay, so my theory for the check that they're doing, for the right side of this, is like you need to be in the shop, you need to be in this trigger already. And it doesn't count as being in the trigger if you're at exactly 11. It doesn't count. At least when you're going to the left. It's possible that it does count when going to the right. I don't know exactly how the axis aligned bounding box like collision check works, if that's what they're doing in this doorway. But it looks like what you have to be in the trigger, and then you have to move for a frame. And then that is what causes it to go off. So the other thing that we can check then is what the interior edge is. Now the run's going. I don't even run this game. I don't even play this game anymore. I just do science. Yeah, axis aligned bounding boxes, my beloved. I hate axis aligned bounding boxes. At least they make things consistent, except when they don't. When you have developers with like parity issues that just will have like negative and positive collisions processed differently, like yeah, that's not good. I don't like when that happens. It's very confusing. So the thing that we want to check now is the inner boundary. So we're going to set ourselves to what I theoretically think is the inside boundary is this line right here, 10.5. So we have the true crown here. Let me go ahead and set this. Yeah, the rounding direction, it's Super Mario 64. I mean, that's not even an axis aligned bounding box issue. That's just like, I mean, that's just floating point arithmetic. That's not even like a fault, like on their game in a lot of cases. Like I said, I don't know if you're talking about the high value floating point problem, like the one where it starts rounding so you can't move anymore. I know there's some like short range stuff that causes issues, like with the collision and the invisible walls. That one's bad programming. If you're talking about the invisible wall thing, with the way the algorithm rounds all the floating point values to integers, but that's a whole different can of worms. That's not what we're here to talk about. It is fascinating though. Super Mario 64 science is some of the most stupid, fascinating stuff I've ever seen in my life. Just understanding how broken that game is and how I never realized that when I was a homunculus and I was just playing it and not questioning why I sometimes would randomly run into things. Oh, the platforms. Yeah, that one. Yeah, I don't even know, like... That stuff was standardized, so I don't even know why the Virtual Console would have screwed that up. Like, I thought that the floating point stuff has been standardized since, like, the mid-90s, so I don't know how in the world, like, a modern console somehow did it differently, but they found a way. So anyways, we're on what I think is the inside boundary of the door. Let's move to the left. We do not get ton aggro, so what if I put myself just a smidge inside of the shop? So we're gonna do this, but with like a couple zeros and a 1. We are a little further to the right. Still nothing. Let's move ourselves 1 unit of movement. That one... no, hold on. Let me reset that one so I'm not moving. Alright, we're 1 unit of movement in. And then we move, and it doesn't look like that triggered. We're actually a little bit outside. So let's do the same thing again, but 1 unit of movement in, and then just a little bit further to the right than that. So we're going to still be in the trigger at the end of this frame. Did that round down. That might be at the floating point boundary. No, it actually... Okay, hold on. I might need to already be moving for this to be consistent. Why is that one not triggering? I promise we're not going to spend too long on this one because it doesn't matter that much for the purposes of what we're doing. But I do like to have the answer for this. So let me... Yeah, my check state. Well, I mean, your state doesn't change when you're moving, right? Yeah, I'm just standing. Standing is the state that's just assigned to being on the ground, not doing anything in particular. But you can move around during this state, so they would have to be checking something else. We're gonna get into something more interesting than checking floating point boundaries, so don't worry about that. The boring part's gonna be over in a moment, and we'll do some other boring nonsense. Yeah, it's checking velocity in some way is my theory. I'm just trying to figure out why this coordinate right here. So what we have here is this is the boundary, 10.5, plus 1 unit of movement from a standstill, plus a little extra, is what this is. We're gonna just make the little extra different. Pushing is just teleportation. Well, not exactly. We'll go into the pushing scenario. I can explain the pushing because I think I already know most of why that happens already, and it's because you don't have velocity. There may be more to it than that, but for the most part, it boils down to you do not have velocity when you are being pushed, so you do not trigger the check. You're just being moved every frame. Because to hell with having actual physics in your video game. So I move on this frame. Am I still in the boundary? I should still be in the boundary. That is not at the floating point limit, but that doesn't actually trigger it. It's almost like at the start of the frame, you need to have velocity for this to trigger. That's what it feels like. That's what I'm getting from this. Like, it feels like I need velocity at the start of my frame, not the end of it, in order for this to trigger. I wonder if this logic is executing like before the player moves or something, and that would explain why I could step into the trigger and not have it go off, and then on the next frame it goes off instead. That would explain a lot, actually, if the game is checking this first. You're a new player, you don't know what this means. Sorry, you'll understand when you're older. Yeah, push blocks are pull blocks. It's so cursed. We're going to show you that in a moment. I will show the push block scenario. This game is very janky. I say that a lot, but it's for a reason. So what I want to check here is, what if I already had velocity on this frame? So let's give ourselves maximum running speed. Let's just say somehow I got into the door at maximum velocity. So maximum leftward velocity is this right here. And let's see, I want to make sure I do this right. Set my position. Just to make the math easy to break down for anybody who's having trouble following this, we're going to do this. We'll add the velocity that we want, like that. There may be floating point precision issues with this, so I will add and subtract small values as needed. But essentially, we're trying to make ourselves end up just barely inside the door at running speed. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. So I'm going to move myself out of the shop. See, how do I want to do this? Yeah, I'll do this in a frame, so... Okay, so we are moving at maximum speed. I'm going to set myself to be at... Oh, I deleted it. There we go. I'm going to set myself to this position. I'm going to make my save state right now. And then I'm going to advance 1 frame. That actually didn't trigger it. Are we still in the shop? We might not be. We're perfectly at the boundary. I'm surprised that the float's rounded correctly, but we are actually perfectly at the boundary now. So what if I was just a smidge further to the right? So to go back to this save state, we are 1 frame away from stepping into that boundary again. And let's add a little bit of error to the right. We still don't get aggro. I don't know. And then that frame, stepping out of the boundary, actually triggers it. This is so peculiar. I'm not sure. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop looking into this specific, like, sub-frame mechanic for now, and I'll come back to this if it matters. What I could say with reasonable confidence is that it is the left half of this tile, but I don't know exactly within the frame when the game is checking the left half of the tile, but we know that that is the trigger. So if you are moving left and you are in this tile, this half tile, according to something in the game engine at some point during the frame, then it will trigger the aggro. Yeah, there's no way to run through it in half that time, or in that amount of time. Because the thing is half a tile, and the character moves at 0.145. So if you wanted to get through this, it's going to take you like 3 or 4 frames, depending on how the game rounds it off, of you running to the left in the tile to get through it. So you're not going to be able to do that. Terminal velocity in this game, however, is 0.4. And so that leads to the interesting implication of, what if you were moving at 0.4 through this doorway, and you were in it for 1 frame, and then you weren't in it anymore? Would that trigger it? Well, we have a way to find out. So I think what you could do is, if you are not pressing a directional input with your player, you can actually move faster than the default movement speed. Pretty much the instant that you press a directional input with your player for any reason, it will suddenly set your speed. So let me go back to this save state here for a little bit of experimentation. So you can see here, look at my velocity, 0.145. Turn around, 0.145. So there's a little bit of drag, and then you turn around and go the other way. Now notably also, if you press the walk button, which I'm going to do on this frame, it instantly clamps your speed to 0.072. 1 frame. It doesn't matter how fast you're moving. Now this is already something that's known about for like tool-assisted speed runs, but if you were to like ledge hang like this, and do a whip ejection, which is just pressing your whip button while you're in a ledge hanging state, my velocity is 0.25. That is faster than my character's like maximum movement speed. So if I were to hold left, it's going to instantly clamp my speed on the next frame to 0.145, and I don't move very fast, and I land here on this tuft of grass. However, if I were to do that same exact thing, but I don't press any buttons for a few frames, notice how my velocity does not get clamped. And then, when I'm about to hit 0.145, I start holding left. I land a little further to the left of the tuft of grass, and it's not much, but stuff like this helps for tool-assisted speedruns. Instead of landing like over here to the right, the center of my character landed over here. It's not a lot, but this kind of stuff adds up. And the question that we have here is, can we weaponize this to get into the shop in some way? My guess is probably not. But I'm curious if hypothetically, if we like got knocked back by an explosion or something that gives us a really high velocity, and we don't press any buttons, or we're stunned while it's happening, will that allow us to get through the door threshold fast enough to not like trigger it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a hypothetical situation which can generate, though it's not terribly common, and then I'm going to give myself a way higher velocity than I would normally get, because 0.25 is not going to be enough. But let's pretend for a second that a whip ejection gives you a velocity of 0.4. So I do that, and then I'm going to go to my player, and I'm going to set my velocity to the maximum negative velocity of 0.4. Anything else in the game will clamp it down. And let's just see like how fast we would go into this door threshold. So we're not in it. We are in the door threshold now. That actually didn't trigger ton. So I think if you get through the door in 1 frame... Oh, I don't have the true crown. I don't have the true crown. I don't have the true crown. Hold on. False. False. Not properly tested. Now we're testing it. Don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes up. I'm sorry. I baited you. Now we're testing it. Yeah, it made the door sound. So it probably didn't work. But let's test it anyways. So now we're doing the real test. So whip eject, give myself the maximum velocity. What are we sciencing today? We are figuring out how exactly Ton gets angered by having a true crown when you enter your shop. That is what we're testing right now. So this is the frame that is probably going to trigger the door, and we have the true crown. It's a little hard to tell on the overlay, but it is there. That angered Tons. So unfortunately, that doesn't look like it's going to work, even with the speed that we had. We were only in this trigger for 1 frame, but upon exiting that trigger with leftward velocity, not holding any buttons on my keyboard or controller, that's still aggroed ton. So what I really think is going on here is that it is the left half of this tile, and the game at some point before player movement is processed, the game is checking, is there a player in this trigger? Do they have velocity into the shop? And if so, anger ton, and then later on in the frame, my player moved. That is what I think is happening in this situation. I don't know for sure, it's very hard to tell what is going on within the frame, but I think a single frame of being in this door trigger will cause it to like set off the bell. So we would have to get the entire way across this door trigger without touching it. It is 0.5 units wide, and we can only move 0.4 units per frame. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to do it. There is a way to inherit velocity, like there's a way to essentially move faster than the speed of light in this game. And that is to be riding an active floor that is moving faster already, and then have velocity yourself. So this is an extremely contrived circumstance. Ledge whip from a push block, we don't want to do that. We want to be parented to an object that is moving while also moving ourselves is what we want to do. And there is a way to do that. I don't know if there's a way to actually get it to happen in a run, but I want to try it. And it is going to involve like riding on a push block. Yeah, we got some relativity jank that we're going to try here. I don't know enough about relativity to make some like educated science jokes about this, so anybody in chat who's smarter than me, then feel free to put the jokes in the chat. Yeah, this is the spaceship with like a flashlight pointing out of the front, and like the what happens, and this is why time dilation exists. Or rather, time dilation is the explanation for that. I don't know what the chicken egg scenario is for time dilation and relativity. There's no time dilation in Spelunky, so essentially if you're in a spaceship and you're running forward in that spaceship while moving at the speed of light, you just move faster than the speed of light in Spelunky because this is a video game. I'm not even upset with the devs over this. This is just how it is. Plasma knockback is not faster than that. I think plasma knockback is actually faster than 0.4, but then it clamps it on the first frame that it moves you, so it doesn't actually do anything. We can check that real quick. But essentially, there is no time dilation in Spelunky, so we can actually move faster than 0.4 units per frame if we know what we're doing. So let me make the plasma cannon and just check the numbers on this real quick and confirm to myself that this will not do what we want it to do. So if I pick that up, center myself on the tile, I'm going to jump just so I'm in the air and I have no drag on the first frame. I don't think that happens. Yeah, you see here, the plasma cannon actually gave me 0.6 for my velocity. But if you look how far I actually moved on this frame, I only moved 0.4. I was at coordinate 14, and now I'm at 13.6. So that's what I was talking about. The plasma cannon actually does give you higher than the maximum like velocity when it knocks you back. But during the frame where it calculates your movement, which is the next frame, it actually clamps your velocity before it applies that like to your character. So you cannot move faster than 0.4. That was a good call. I don't know if you knew the number or not, but that is a good call. The plasma cannon does actually give you a higher velocity, but you can't use it. The game clamps it off before it applies it to your character. And then from there, the airborne drag of 0.015 gets applied to every subsequent frame. What I'm guessing is happening is the game calculates your velocity. So the velocity is 0.6 when you shoot. On the next frame, it applies drag, so it calculates 0.585, and then it clamps it, and then it applies that to your character's position, is what is most likely going on. So that results in 0.6, which doesn't do anything, and then on the next frame, you get 0.4 applied to you because it clamps, and then on the next frame, you get dragged, and it doesn't have to clamp anymore, so you get 0.385, 0.37, and so on, until you're not moving anymore. Why even bother with the velocity? I don't know exactly like why they settled on the number 0.4. This game's collision engine, like, I don't think it, I don't know if it does subframes. It does like, or I don't know if it does like quarter steps would be the term I would use. I'm not sure how exactly it works. Like, you can skim corners, and sometimes you will pass through the corner, and sometimes you will hit the corner, even though the velocity vector should have been able to jump across it. They picked 0.4 for some reason because it made sense in their collision engine. It most likely reduced the number of instances of passing directly through objects because two things were moving too fast in opposite directions. I think there are situations where this would actually matter anyways. Like if you have two thin objects moving towards each other at 0.4, I believe they just pass through each other and they don't collide because at no point during the frame do their like hitboxes touch each other. But like, why even bother with the velocity? The answer for the plasma cannon is whoever programmed it in didn't know what they were doing. So if that was your question, if your question is why does the plasma cannon give you 0.6 knockback, it's because they're incompetent. If your question is why is 0.4 like the hard limit on the velocity, it's probably because they determined that that was like a good compromise to make sure that things generally hit each other when you expect them to, and they're not moving so fast that objects pass through each other. But yeah, the answer to the knockback being 0.6 is incompetence. It's hard to say whether or not they programmed it to be 0.6 or if 0.6 is a consequence of like a multiplier to the shotgun knockback is another possibility. It could be, it's really, there's no way of knowing for sure. So like if I were to take a shotgun, for instance, that's definitely how you spell shotgun. And take that, and I'm just centering myself for consistency with the experiment. Jump in the air, fire the shotgun 0.2. So maybe the plasma cannon is the shotgun knockback times 3. And that's just how they did it for some reason. Like it's really tough to say for sure like what their intent was because this game is just a dumpster fire of questionable programming decisions. Oh god. Hey Arp, thank you for the gift subs. Now everyone enjoy your emotes. Thank you so much for continuing to do this for me. I do appreciate it. Thank you for the gift subs. Enjoy whatever it is you get. You know what? If anything, my emotes are kind of mid at best. Enjoy not getting pre-roll ads when you click on my stream. That's what you really get to celebrate here. So have fun with that. Captain got one too. I don't know what he's gonna do with his Prime sub now. Nope, you just give that to someone else this month, I guess. Anyways, so what I was gonna test here, this is a little unrelated. So the shotgun was 0.2 and 0.05 for the knockback. If we take the plasma cannon, put that there, center my character. I just want to see if it looks like it's a multiplier. That's all I'm trying to check here. Nah, it's something else, because you could see how the vertical velocity did not scale. This would have been 0.15 if it was the same scaling factor, so I think they did hard code the knockback for the plasma cannon versus the shotgun, and they're incompetent, and they just did it wrong. And then just the scepter, just because it has a different knockback value as well. Let's check the scepter real quick. And the scepter is actually 1/4, so they did something. I don't know what the plasma cannon is a lower entity ID. I don't see how that would matter because the player is, I think, the one responsible for assigning itself velocity when it shoots the weapon. Okay, I guess I'll ask the question: what do you expect to be different in that scenario if I have a lower ID like plasma cannon? I don't think that would matter, but I could be wrong about this kind of thing. I don't think it would matter. I'm not sure how it would. Yeah, it reads a player input. Like, the player entity is responsible for firing the weapon, so the entire weapon firing process occurs during the player's state machine. Is like how that should work. I mean, we could check. Let's, just in case we're missing something really cool, I am going to check that, and then we'll get back on track with the ton aggro. We're trying to figure out if we can get through this door without angering ton while we have the true crown by just moving fast as Sanic, faster than Sanic even. Let's see if we can move faster than the speed of light. So what we're gonna do here to get this plasma cannon to have a lower entity ID is we're gonna commit die. So if I commit die with the player like this, that deleted my entity, and then I can respawn myself with Overlunky. So if I go over here, I can respawn myself. Now I have a higher entity ID than this plasma cannon. So this is as though it spawned in the level. It's 4,900. I'm at like 5,000. 5,000. Nobody says 5,000. Kind of cursed. Whatever. So anyways, if I go back to my player entity and I look at my position, and pop this out as well. Put that there. I'm going to make a save state just in case we do get any interesting developments from this, though I don't think we're going to. So there's our save state. And then we fire it. Same thing. It looks like I only moved 0.4. So instead of being at 3.4 or 13.4, I only got the 0.4 from the velocity. So it doesn't work, but we tried. You never know. I've been wrong about these things before, but in this case, no, it does not matter what the idea of the plasma cannon is. A disappointing but expected development. So back to this. Let's see here. Yeah, you would be a hero if we figured out how to move that fast with like a lower ID plasma cannon. That would potentially unlock some very cursed jank. If that was all we needed, if moving at 0.6 speed like unlocked some weird collision jank, like passing through lasers or something, that would be sick. But no, that does not look like a thing that you could do. Like, you wouldn't be able to pass through the lasers, but you might, for instance, be able to knock yourself so far through it that you get knocked out the other side of the laser. But as it stands now, I think half of the player's like hitbox. The player in this game, I think, is, I want to say 0.56 wide. Let me check that just to like theory craft something here. Yeah, the player hitbox is 0.28. Is 0.28 is half of it, so it would be 0.28, and then lasers, like laser walls, the ones that are in Neo Babylon, are 0.5 units wide. So essentially, this plus 0.25 is just a little bit too wide to like clip yourself through it, and it might, yeah, it's just a little bit too wide to clip yourself through the other side, is what I'm trying to get at. So like, imagine you had a force field. I'll just spawn one in. We're not going to go anywhere with this, but if I spawn a force field, I think it needs to be timed to make sure it actually turns on. Come on. Alright, this entity right here. So what I was wondering is, can you be moving so fast that on the next frame you're on the other side of the force field and you go through it? And the answer is no, because in one frame you need to span 0.53 units of distance and you can only be moving at 0.4. So if you were able to somehow get your character to move 0.53 units in one frame, you would actually be able to clip through to the other side. That's what I was like getting at with that. So would have been interesting, not possible. Hello, Infernus. Let's go back to what we were trying to figure out. Yeah, the rope. Okay, fine. I'll show the rope. This is completely unrelated to what we're doing right now. Ropes, you could clip yourself into the middle using a rope. It looks like this. So if I crouch down, place a rope. You can't really see the rope. I'll let the force field end. There's a rope there now. Now if I run forward, the rope has the same like width as the force field. So if I run forward while holding up to grab this rope, and I have God mode turned off for this, I'm holding up and I'm running forward. I grab the rope, and then on the same frame, the force field knocks me off, and I just get shot out the other side. This only works to the right, because the bias when you're directly on top of the laser is to get knocked out to the right. You can go through a laser to the right by putting a rope on it. But that has nothing to do with your velocity. That is the fact that you grab the rope and get hit by the force field on the same frame that causes that to happen. So, completely unrelated jank to what we're doing here, but still interesting. So what I was going to test here is push blocks, because let me get my lovely assistant Rafi to help me out here. Let's see. I think I need to change characters as well. Let me see if I can just do that here. And I'll do that another time. I have to play classic guy for 30 minutes. You know what? Our assistant is going to be classic guy. That's how we're going to do this, so I don't have to change. We're going to add a classic guy, because I am playing as classic guy. I'm playing as both of these characters right now. So 2 characters. That's Rafi. How do I change who is in that slot, actually? Hold on. I know there's a way to do this. Let's see. State. Is it player slots? Items. Player. I don't think, maybe it might be player select. Items that player select. It's an array. Do that character. I think I can change this. So if I were to do that and then spawn him in, I wonder if this would work. This will be interesting if this actually works. The texture is wrong. I wonder if this is going to spawn Classic Guy with the wrong texture, or if it'll fix it. That's almost certainly going to be the wrong one. The problem here, chat, is I don't want to change. I don't want to unload this level because I can't get it back the way the save states work. So I'm trying to spawn in player 2 as Classic Guy, but he's currently configured to be Rafi, and I don't think there's a way to actually change that in here. Overlunky devs, please fix. So I got to figure out how to do it some other way. I promise we're gonna go back to ton science really soon. I'm just being a dumbass. So let's see. I think it's texture. Yeah, data, texture, data, textures. Let's see, what are these as? Character. For some reason they use different IDs for this. I did not mean to open my Steam overlay. There we go. 288, that is Rafi. Alright, so we just need to get the Classic Guy. Classic Guy... Oh, what color is he? Is he like cinnamon or something? It's not Cinnabar. Or is he orange? He's orange, yeah. Classic Guy is orange. Okay, so that's the other thing that we need to set. That should work. Yeah, imagine not knowing, like, all of the colors. Okay, so there we go. That should set him up. Alright, we should have Classic Guy in player slot 2 now. So I'm gonna make another save state here and then try to spawn him in. God, I hope this works. Cerulean. Colin is... No, Colin is Cyan. And fucking... What's her face? Old Granny is Cerulean. Coco is Cerulean. Colin is Cyan. And then Manfred is blue. Clearly, you're not a proper custom skin enjoyer if you don't remember every single color that they associate with these skins. But yeah, Cerulean is Coco. Alright, so let's go ahead and spawn him in now. Yo, let's go. We got a Classic Guy. I think it worked. Alright, buddy, come here. I got something for you to do. Oh, he's down there. He spawned on me. I didn't even see him. Well, I'm gonna get rid of that trap because it's been annoying me. Ton keeps like bumping into it. If you block too, that'll keep her in there. Okay, so we have our lovely assistant. And by lovely, I mean gross. This officially starts the timer for Classic Guy being in this game, so that'll cover that redeem. Let me go ahead and save state. I'm just gonna overwrite all of them. Alright, so we have an assistant now, and this is going to allow us to evaluate some scenarios that wouldn't normally exist with a single player. Let's start with push block. Now, you can't have a push block in this level, but just pretend we're in Volcana. So if I have a push block here, and I have Classic Guy moving it, and then I'm also moving, maybe we can get something interesting to happen. I'm going to need it to be down here. I'll do a little bit of testing. Let me set this up, like just the baseline for it. And then I'll make a save state, and then we're going to adjust this to see how fast we can actually get our character to move. And we may need more players for this. We'll see. I just want to see if this is even possible to do. It's incredibly stupid and pointless, but who knows? Who knows what we'll find out. I don't know why grid snap is inconsistent sometimes with that. There we go. Okay, make our save states. So here's the baseline situation. Is I'm going to be standing over on this side of the block. Now let me get a entity viewer up for me again. We don't... Why is it set to Guy Spelunky? Or no, I am Guy Spelunky. I'm not Classic Guy. I keep forgetting. Alright, so we want to look at our velocity here. We're currently not moving. Now if we push the block, you'll notice something. Or rather, you won't notice anything. Because my velocity is not changing right now. The push block is moving. I am parented to the push block. My velocity is still 0. The push block down here, which we're also going to set up. I don't know if there's going to even be enough, but the push block's velocity is actually also... Oh god, it's also 0. Wait, that wasn't supposed to happen. Who has velocity then? Is it you? Oh god, what is happening here? A classic guy, we'll detach him as well. Okay, let me get these in a more coherent order. Okay, push block is going to be over on this side. I don't want to put these on top of chat, so I'll leave them like this. Okay, apparently no one has velocity. Okay, that's even more cursed. No one has velocity in this interaction. Literally nobody is moving. The push block just updates its position every frame. I thought this actually gave the push block velocity. It's even stupider than I thought it was. This game is truly a sight to behold. So we have to figure out how fast the push block is moving with this instead. So if I do that and then I move it for 1 frame, minus the previous one, that was about 0.56. So the push block is moving 0.022 per frame. Why did they make this game? This game was probably rushed. I am pretty sure... Okay, I have to take everything I say with a grain of salt when I talk about this kind of stuff. I think this game was in development hell. Like, the combination of it being outsourced to a mediocre studio and COVID-19 kicking in right in the middle of development, I think this game was in development hell, and I think they rushed it at the end of the release to get it out because it got delayed by the catastrophe that was the virus. And as a result, a lot of shit in this game just barely works. Like, on the surface, it looks fine, you don't really notice anything, but if you look closer, you realize just how much of a mess this game is, while somehow still remaining functional. And that is my theory. My theory is that this game went through a crappy development cycle. It probably had turnover due to the virus, and then it also was rushed at the end. Like, in addition to that, I think both of those things happened, and that is what resulted in the weird jank that we have right now. Yeah, overcooked and undercooked. I think what happened was they overcooked it and they threw it away, and then they undercooked like another part of it. That's like how I would describe what I think happened in this game. Like, they, like, partway through development, like, just something went wrong. They had turnover, they had to, like, redo features, and then they didn't finish Cosmic Ocean. They didn't finish the mothership, like, stuff like that. The game was cooked in some capacity, but none of the chefs knew what they were doing. And there was a monkey in the kitchen at the same time, and just everything ended up being a complete mess. And it somehow resulted in a functional game that I have, like, 4,000 hours in, so... I don't know how things worked out the way they did, but push block has no velocity, classic guy has no velocity, I have no velocity. Somehow. We found a way. So, what I wanted to test here was the speed that I have, and unfortunately the push block is so slow that this is not going to really get us the result that we want. And the contrived scenario that I'm going to set up here in a second is not even possible, like, without, like, a customized level and some other horribly cursed jank. But we're going to try it anyway. So what you could infer from this situation is that if I were running to the left, so let me get myself up to maximum speed while pushing the block. I would have the velocity of this, so 0.45 plus 0.022. That is my actual movement per frame. This is not helpful, unfortunately, and I don't know if we can get it to be helpful in this situation. I'm trying to think, I don't have a good way to set this up, but I really want to do it the way that it would normally happen in the game if you were absolutely unhinged and really wanted to demonstrate the absolute stupidity of it. So let me go ahead and set this up. Let me see if I can get this to happen. So for that, we need... not a push block. We need a hermit crab. What I'm going to do here is insanely cursed, and I don't know how the numbers are going to add up. You may know where I'm going with this if you've seen this before. If not, then buckle in. Alright, so we need a specific hermit crab spawn. I forget what the odds are for us to get the one that we want. I need a hermit crab with a push block on its back. I'm getting trolled big time here. Come on, game. I'm spawning them in slowly here because I want to delete them before they could do anything. But I'm getting like hardcore trolled here. The odds of this is like, I think like 1 in 5 or something. There we go. Okay, first try. Then we need a freeze ray. This is so stupid. Okay, I don't even care about the true crown at this point because it's irrelevant to what we're trying to test. So we have a hermit crab now. It's going to move to the, yeah, it's going to move to the right. Let's see, classic guy needs to have a mitt. Did I give him the mitt? I thought I did. Maybe I didn't spawn it and I got distracted by something. Alright, classic guy has a pitcher's mitt now. I'm going to need to delete the floor of the shop, so we need all this to happen one tile lower. But you can see how contrived this is getting, but you know, sometimes we do science and we don't ask ourselves whether or not we should. We just ask whether we could, and that's exactly what's going on here. So this hermit crab should de-aggro if I'm sitting over here so I can line all this up. Yeah, okay, it's not going to move until I get like within 6 tiles of it or something. So classic guy, pick up the freeze ray. Let's see here, how are we going to do this? Let me make a save state here. Alright, so I'm going to put myself on top of this hermit crab, pressed against the right wall. Classic guy is going to run over here. We need to wait for it to turn around. So it's going to take it a second here. Okay, it's turned around. And then let me save state again. And I should be able to shoot it right now. We have God mode on, so classic guy's gonna touch the ground really fast because I don't have input lockout, which is fine. So I'm not actually sure. No, I guess he gets the same knockback into the air, but whatever, this is fine. It's close enough to simulating what we're trying to do here. Hopefully I won't pick up the freeze ray when I do this. Actually, do I need to do this? I think I could turn around and throw it, if I recall correctly. Alright, we picked it up with classic guy. Now, let me get rid of this. We don't need this grid anymore. It's making it hard to see what I'm doing. Let's try to turn around on the next frame of classic guy. Okay, we're down there. So that's not quite what I was trying to do with that. We're gonna have to redo that one. Let me just see how this one plays out. I don't even look, Chad. I don't know. I got nothing on that one. Let's just redo that one and pretend that didn't happen. We need to actually do this from the right side so that I can pick it up and throw it to the left. I don't know. Like that looked like the same kind of like crush ejection that Quillback gets. So maybe that happened with the push block when I picked it up. It didn't want to crush the push block, so I shoved it out of the ground. This is something for another day. I'm gonna make a note. I'm gonna make a note to add a science tidbit about this. Just add a marker. Cosine, make a note to figure out what just happened with the push block a minute ago. Alright, so let's try this again. We need this dickhead to turn around. You're not gonna turn around, are you? Alright, turn around. Okay, so now I'm gonna make our save state. We're gonna fire the freeze ray. We're gonna drop it. And we're gonna pick up the hermit crab. This is gonna result in classic guy getting launched backwards like insanely fast. He actually would already be dead right now if I didn't have God mode on, but let's go ahead and throw the push block now. Or rather, we're throwing the hermit crab, which has a push block on it. In the meantime, me on top of the push block, I need to hold left and start running. So the velocity that we should have here is going to be the hermit crab plus my velocity. And the push block is parented to the hermit crab. So this thing is moving at velocity. The hermit crab is moving at 0.35 from that throw. That is faster than light. We are moving faster than light. We're moving at 3, 5 plus 145. We are moving faster than light. Though, tragically, that is actually just a smidge less than 0.5 that we need to get through this door. So we're gonna have to see if there's anything we could do with that. Like, for instance, maybe, well, I guess a whip ejection wouldn't work. There may be something more we could do with this, but this crab is moving faster than light right now, as far as Spelunky is concerned. So for instance, if we look at my position, let me get my, yeah, look at the absolute position. Let me see if I could get this value. So player, I think it's just abs x. Okay, so that is my absolute value x position. And then on the next frame, I'm going to keep holding left. Minus the previous one. I think I can just copy this. We actually moved 0.49. Is the hermit crab slowing down? That might mean near the beginning of the throw it's faster. I only moved 0.49 in that frame instead of 0.495. This is weird. What is the velocity of this? No, it's not slowing down. I don't even know why the numbers don't add up. This game is just... Did I do something wrong with my math? I might have done something wrong. I'm willing to accept that. I did do something. I did something wrong with my math. Yeah, I was wrong. So this is correct then. The thing is not slowing down. This is the number. That's how fast it's moving. Okay, so that is correct. 0.49, which is still just a tidbit too slow to do this. Now what I'm going to do here is, let's see. Just calculate how much faster than light we're moving. I don't see any scenario where this works. Yeah, I don't see a way to get this to work because I'm just not going to be moving fast enough at the right time to get through this door, but we are going to try a few different things just to see like what the edge cases would look like. So I'm going to go ahead and make a... Yeah, I'm going to make another save state here. Let me make sure I don't overwrite one of my good ones. I'll use state 3. All right, so if I were to keep running in this situation, I will actually run off the edge. And you see what happened there. When I stepped off the edge, I immediately lost the bonus speed. And I kind of just like jittered back onto it. Now, I don't have the true crown, so I'm not going to get aggro there. But let's see if we can like realign ourselves a little bit. So if I set my position all the way back over to like 0.5, so we're all the way over here. 0.4 is the maximum speed anything can move in Spelunky independently. Like anything that is not parented to another object. That is the maximum speed anything can move in this game. Like that's the maximum velocity, but it's not the maximum speed at which you can like travel through space, because I am riding a push block that is moving very fast and then I am running. And so those two speeds added together is actually faster than 0.4. We are trying to get higher than 0.5 to see if you can enter a ton shop with the true crown so fast that you do not get ton aggro. That's what we're trying to figure out here. So I have given myself the true crown and I have maximum velocity. I'm going to make micro adjustments to the position of the hermit crab to see if I could pass through this door like perfectly. I don't think this is going to work because it is not moving fast enough. In which case I will change the speed of the hermit crab to be just a little higher to see if we're capable of doing this. It's in event velocity vectors is not calculated like that. It's independent. Like basically they don't do a velocity vector. They calculate X, they calculate Y. They're clamped independently. Some like throw mechanics do like use the vector instead, but 0.4 is the hard limit on both axes. So yeah, you can move faster diagonally. I think I explained that poorly, but the point is, yes, you are correct. You can move that fast diagonally. Anyways, let's just see what happens with this particular setup. So let's make our save state and just hold left. I think we're gonna step off it. No, actually, no, that's fine. We actually got through the door before the experiment went through, so this is good. Let's go ahead and test this one. So we are not in that trigger yet. By how much, I wonder? Like 46. Okay, so we are... Let's see, that value sometimes lags behind. Yeah, that's not a very good value to calculate. Let me just do this. Okay, it just returns the first value. That's the one we want. So I'll be using that to see my actual position in the world, not my position relative to the block. 11 is the threshold. So we're a little bit further to the right. And then on the next frame, we are unfortunately inside of the trigger. And that means on the next frame, I'm going to anger ton. Like that. And then I step off the block on the frame after that, and I get shot. Well, I have Godmode on, but I would get shot. So the thing that we're going to try, I don't think this is going to work, but I'm going to change the position of the hermit crab real quick. And I don't want to, like, pick up the hermit crab and accidentally mess this up, so we're going to do that. We're going to set its X to be just a little bit further to the left. I don't think any of this is going to work, but I want to set its X to 5. Actually, it'll be easy if I just do this. I just want to remove a little bit from it. This will be kind of like as close as I can get it, and it'll probably still not work, and then we will try the thing that will probably work. Alright, so it's a little further to the left, and what we've done by doing that is we put ourselves right next to the door without quite stepping into it. So I should be just a tiny bit outside the door in this situation. Yes, I am just a teeny tiny bit further over to the right to not be in the door trigger. But on the next frame, I'm unfortunately in the door trigger by just a little bit. It's so close, literally 1/100th of a unit. This is not the first time we've had this come up. We are so close, but we're not quite there. And so Ton sees me as I step out of it on the next frame, because I think this processes before the hermit crab push block moves. So that unfortunately won't work, but let's pretend that we were able to throw it just a little bit further. I don't know if there's a way that we can get this to happen. This is unfortunately like still theoretical. We don't have a way to throw it, but if we were able to throw the hermit crab at 0.4 instead of like 0.35, or what was the number I had, 0.345? If we were able to throw it at 0.4, then maybe we would be able to get this to work. But pitcher's mitt throws are just capped to a maximum speed, so my classic guy's speed as he's moving around is not going to change anything. The pitcher's mitt throw is always going to be that same value, because that's just how that works. So I can't like get him to have a running start. And if I don't do this with the pitcher's mitt, this is going to immediately like hit the ground, and it's just not, it's not going to work right. And I think maximum throwing speed anyways is not fast enough. Like I think a stationary pitcher's mitt throw is faster than throwing an object without the mitt. I will double check that, but I don't think it'll work. Of course, like many of these things, I could be wrong, and maybe there is some insanely cursed way that we could get this to work. I'm open to suggestions. So let me reload my save state, and let me go illegally modify the speed. Let me dope this hermit crab real quick so that it can move faster than it's supposed to. So what if the hermit crab was moving at 0.4 instead? So I'm going to advance one frame. I'm going to just go ahead and overwrite that save state. Actually, I'll overwrite this one instead. So we're on state 2 now. So now we're moving a little bit faster. Now we're moving at 0.545 per frame. So on this frame, we stepped into the trigger by how much? Because that's what I'm going to adjust the position of the hermit crab by. And what? Not that one. Where is it? That one. Okay, so I need to move myself over 0.16 because Ton's going to aggro. So I need to move myself over 0.16. Or I need to move, I guess I could move myself or the hermit crab. I'm just going to go ahead and move the hermit crab. So do the same thing that we did before. That right there, that should be all that we need to get this to work. So I will advance, save state again. So I am just barely outside. And then on the next frame, I'm just barely inside, and Ton does not get mad. So theoretically, this is possible. If you could achieve that speed. Yep, it's the chair V chest. This is theoretically possible if you can get the hermit crab to be moving a little bit faster. Yeah, Remy, I'm about to address that. I'm going to check the throwing speeds. But all you have to do is get a combined speed of probably 0.5 would work. Exactly 0.5 should work based on how the rounding seems to work for this. But yeah, this in theory works. So here it is again, for anyone who didn't like catch the moment. The hermit crab and therefore the push block are moving at 0.4. I'm moving at 0.145. My total velocity is 0.545 per frame, and this door is 0.5 units thick. So with the correct alignment and sufficient speed, I am outside the door trigger. I'm inside the shop, and I still didn't touch the door trigger. And Ton doesn't notice that I have the true crown. And then if I were to just jump in normally, Ton does notice that I have the true crown. So I could go in here and do the challenge. All this nonsense when I could have just done like stone ownership pass through to blow up a wall in the shop. This is absurd, but you know what? Sometimes stuff like this like comes back in like tool assisted speed runs or other ridiculous circumstances where you would never expect it to. So I think it's worth doing this, if nothing else, just to see what could potentially happen if somebody wanted to make just like a glitch like showcase run at some point, like a glitch task, which is something that even I might do at some point, where you just do absurd nonsense like this. Because we do have push blocks in Tide Pool. We have hermit crabs in Tide Pool. We have pitcher's mitts, and there's a ton challenge in Tide Pool. So in theory, you could set up this scenario if you were feeling like exceptionally stupid. You could set this up in Tide Pool. It would be dumb. You would literally have to break a tile of the shop in order to get it to happen, which defeats the purpose, because you could then just enter through that open space and not trigger any of this. But it would be fascinating if you could even do it, like in just the most needlessly convoluted way possible. And maybe there are other game mechanics where being able to move at this velocity would allow you to clip through something that you otherwise would never be able to get through, like low percent or something. So who knows? Would be very cool. Now, what I'm going to do here, let me figure out which save state I was at. So that one's already being thrown. This one, okay. So there are a few different situations here for like the velocity that I would have, but let me actually go back to this state and just do some basic tests with the pitcher's mitt. So let's just spawn in a rock and see how fast we throw it. So first of all, without pitcher's mitt, go up here. All right, so I'm facing over to the right. It is worth noting we have been facing left for all these tests, but it is unlikely that anything differs to the right other than maybe the rounding case for like what qualifies as being inside the door trigger. Like being at half a tile may or may not trigger it exactly if you're facing to the right. I think it doesn't end up mattering, and for what we're doing, it doesn't really matter at all. Because we don't have exact like 0.5 velocity, we have something a little bit higher than that. Alright, so let's get some baselines for throwing objects. Actually, let's throw a hermit crab specifically because certain objects have different throwing speeds. I do not believe it matters whether or not there's an object on the hermit crab's back. So, yeah, Lord knows there could be a difference. Yeah, we'd have to test all this again. I'm going to go off the assumption that there isn't a difference for now. Alright, so hermit crab. Let's test a few scenarios. What save state do I overwrite? I'm going to get rid of our hypothetical, like, thrown hermit crab save states. So let me just delete those. Okay, we have new save states now. So if I throw the hermit crab, what velocity does it get? We only care about X. 0.23. So that's like the same velocity you would get from like throwing a rock or something, which is actually pretty high. The number that we want to beat is 0.345. That is the number we need to beat to make this viable. And it actually, now that I look at the numbers, this might actually be possible if I don't have the mitt and I throw the hermit crab from a specific spot. Oh god, this is going to be terrible. Alright, well, let's give it a shot. Just let me hydrate. Ah, there we go. Alright. Yeah, this might actually be possible in a vanilla run. Oh god. Alright, so the second scenario. So 0.23 if we're not moving. If I am running at full speed, and then I throw it, It's faster. 0.375. Plus the player's movement speed. That's it. That's enough. We can. It's actually doable. The problem is we don't have the mitt, which means the hermit crab with the push block is not going to get thrown in a straight line. It's going to be thrown in an arc. I don't know how that's going to affect the physics of this, so there's only one way to find out. And then I guess just for, before I like reload these states, yeah, I'm going to test running with mitt, which I do not think makes it go any faster. I'm going to test that though. So let me reload that. Give myself the mitt this time. Alright, so first test. Throwing object without mitt, or without moving rather. With mitt, without moving. 0.345, that's the number that we saw earlier. And then if I do the exact same thing, but while running, 0.345. Yeah, mitt removes horizontal and vertical velocity, like getting added to the thing you throw. So running with the mitt is not going to help. We actually get more speed by running and throwing without the mitt, straight horizontally. That's what I'm observing here. Throwing frozen objects tends to be bad for horizontal. Shit, I got a box on the chat. There we go. Yell at me if you see me do that. It makes it hard to read the chat and the box. So throwing frozen objects tends to be bad for horizontal velocity without mitt. Yeah, frozen objects can be weird, but I don't know. Let's just try it. Let's just try it and see what happens instead of just guessing ahead of time. So let me go back to this state. And did I delete the one that I wanted? It's already getting thrown here. Okay, we'll set it up again with the hermit crab. So let me get another hermit crab. And actually, let me do this as well. Alright, so we need a hermit crab facing to the right. I think we're done with like stun ownership pass through, so let me just delete all this crap. It's in the way, we don't need it. So this is hypothetically the setup that we have. And there'd be a hermit crab like over here. Oh nice, first try, we actually got one with the push block. So classic guy, you go over here. You get a freeze ray. I need to be on top of it like this. The true crown, I'm just gonna stage it up on a block over here so I can pull it over later. So for some reason the hermit crab chose to open up to the right, or to the left. You gonna turn around? No, you're not gonna turn around, you're just gonna not cooperate, are you? Alright, last guy picks that up. Get out. I'll get out of the block. Gotta walk forward a little bit. Okay, so this is gonna be the save state that we use. So let's go ahead and I'm just debating which like save state IDs to override. I'll just override all three of these. Alright, so classic guy does not have the mitt in this scenario because I hadn't given it to him yet. Let's see what we can do with this. And you know, I'm going to turn off God mode just in case there's something here I'm missing that would affect the outcome. It shouldn't, but you never know, and I want to do this without God mode on just in case it matters for some reason. Now, I think doing it back here is not going to even work. So I pick it up, and then I got to throw this thing on like the next frame. He already died. It already killed him. I think the game like tried to crush him into this wall here. He's already dead. So we're gonna need to move this setup a little bit to get this to work. Let's see. Okay, back to this state. Let me get rid of these tiles so that he has some room. Alright, let's try that again. No God mode. This is why it's important to test things without God mode. Sometimes you don't know for sure if something is going to be consistent. So he's going to pick it up on this frame. And then he's going to throw it. on this frame. Look how far he went on the first frame that the feedback loop started. That is why he died. There was literally a wall there. I'm not sure. You know what? Okay, so here's the sad thing about this. I don't know if I could throw it without losing my speed. Maybe if I grab the edge of it at full running speed, and then I manage to throw it before my velocity gets zeroed out. I wonder if running to the right, I'm not sure if this is possible actually, because I don't know how to keep my speed when I pick up this push block, because Classic Guy is going to get stopped. Oh no. No, don't make me do that. There's a solution to this, chat. And I don't like it. It's really bad. It's an extremely cursed solution. I need Classic Guy to not bump into this push block while holding the Hermit Crab so that he can keep his full running speed and throw it. Does anybody in chat know how I'm about to accomplish that? Oh no. Oh, okay, Vero, hello. Thank you for the raid. This has just been completely derailed into something stupider than I ever thought it would. We're supposed to be doing like ton True Crown aggro science, and it has just blown up into me trying to figure out if I could move faster than the speed of light. Yep, door clip. We're gonna use door cancel state to see if we could pick up this frozen hermit crab and perform this glitch and get through the door of the Ton shop without Ton seeing us wearing the True Crown. There is no point in this. This is a rabbit hole that doesn't lead anywhere useful. So anyways, I hope your run was good. Whatever you were doing, score runs I think is usually what you run, but I hope your runs did you well. I will continue to do some science now, so if anyone has any questions about this nonsense, feel free to ask. You died at 7? Oh no. Oh no. Wait, what is that 1.1 mil? Or comma? I'm an American, so I use decimal points for that, so I want to make sure I understand the number you have there. Because, like, that's not that much, right? Or is it 11 mil? Oh, no, it was 11 mil. Okay, that's what I thought you meant, and I am sorry to hear that. Wait, that is... Holy shit, that is a lot. Wait, what's the world record for Cosmic? Wait, that's huge. Record is 17? Oh, God. That's on pace, right? Like, that's world record pace, isn't it? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that sucks, dude. I mean, at least that's still a good run. It's way higher than I would have the patience to do. But I think that's world record pace, right? If you get a good Cosmic for a score run. Oh, that's nuts. And, yeah, okay, you got a PB at least. Alright, so at least you got something out of that. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Like, I hate score runs, but I respect score runs. Like, as much as I meme about score runs being terrible, I absolutely respect it. And that is tragic to, like, get that far into a score run in Cosmic and then just die to who knows what. You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. Well, I'm glad you got a PB at least, so congratulations on that. I will now continue what I'm doing here. So this is going to be incredibly stupid, but let me just see if this is possible. And I'll explain what I'm doing along the way for anybody who's just stopping by. So which save state do I want to use? That one. So we need to get Classic Guy into the air crawl state. Now let me get myself... Okay, so we would hypothetically be doing this in Tide Pool. So let me get myself Vlad's Cape. So give Classic Guy Vlad's Cape, rather. We're just going to let this Hermit Crab just do its thing for a little bit. Alright, so Classic Guy, let me just turn off frame advance, it'll make this a little bit faster. So, give him the Vlad's Cape. Put him over here. The Hermit Crab will stop dicking around in a moment. We're gonna need a door. Now, let me turn God mode back on for a second here. Let me go find a door to get him into the door cancel state. I think there's one up here. Yeah, here we are. Let's get rid of the web. Alright, so I don't need the hover pack anymore for what I'm doing anyways. So I'm going to simulate the back item glitch by just pulling it off of his back with Overlunky. It's the same thing as like bringing it in with the right entity ID for whoever's familiar with that. Hopefully you're familiar with the back item glitch, but just take my word for it, there's a way to do this. So now we're in the situation where Classic Guy can force me to jump by mashing his jump button. So if I'd, there we go. I'm not pressing any buttons. Classic Guy is, as you can hear, very loudly. So I'm going to swap the back item ID reference now. So if I have Classic Guy unequip his back item, and then pick this up, now he has it, so now I can force him to jump, which unfortunately still makes the sound. And then when he's going into this door, I'm going to force him to jump. So before I make that happen, I need to give him his freeze ray back, and then I have to do something super cursed. This is going to be so hard to get the planets to align for this to actually work. But we'll start by having him go into the door and getting him in the door cancel state. So I'm going to have Classic Guy start entering, and then I am going to jump in the air, and that's going to force him to exit the door state. So now Classic Guy has the ability to air crawl, and what that essentially means is that I could drop and pick up items, and that would include that frozen hermit crab. Well, it's not frozen yet, but it's going to be. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to get both of our characters back down into position. I need to be very careful not to like grab the cape or something. We're definitely in crash the game territory right now if I'm not super precise about what I'm doing here. So that's the freeze ray. I need to grab this specifically. Did you inform me of the horrible discovery? What, did something happen like during the stream? Is this something new? No, whatever, we'll figure that out later. So I think I can just grab this. Okay, so I could grab and hold on to that while I set the rest of this up. Alright, so I need the hermit crab to move over a bit, which I don't want it to give him ligma, so let me just move it all the way over here. I'm going to turn off God mode for this, so I don't want anyone getting poisoned. And then I need it to turn around, so it needs to run into a block, and that'll cause it to turn around. Could have also put a hole in the floor to do that. So the hermit crab can't even see Classic Guy right now, because he's in the door entering state, so he's not like a valid aggro target. I'll delete these bubbles as they spawn in. By editing the damsel type number in the config file, you can have the damsel spawn as a different entity than it should. What? They don't validate that? Oh no. They don't sanitize that data? Are you serious? Okay, yeah, we gotta look into that at some point here. Let's stay on the subject with Ton here, but I want to look into that at some point. That sounds incredibly cursed. That's gotta be a co-op desync, among other things. That is awful that it's possible to do that. Like, I'm sure that would be blocked for like speedruns, so that's not gonna be anything that you could use in a speedrun, but that is incredibly cursed. I wonder if there's anything really janky you could do with that. This is what happens. This is what happens when you outsource your game, folks, and no like attention to detail, no care is put into the project. This is what you get. You get that kind of like problem. The spawn a chef. I assume you could just type in any number you want, and it'll just add it to the ID of the pet. So yeah, that's interesting to say the least. All right, so I'm setting this up now. So we do that. All right, I think all my ducks are in a row here. So I'm going to make a couple save states of this situation. And then we're gonna have Classic Guy freeze this hermit crab and then try to pick it up and throw it through the entrance to the shop while I am also running left with the True Crown. So let me drop this here and have Classic Guy go do his thing. Can you do negative numbers? Possibly. It depends what the type is. It might be a bite, which limits the things that you could spawn in, but we'll see. I'm wearing the True Crown in real life. I don't know, I might be. I haven't had the random teleports. So maybe I'm clean. I'm not really sure. Sometimes it feels like I'm cursed. Maybe I'm just cursed in real life. Wouldn't be surprised if it was an int. They do use bytes in some of these cases, but the config file could just use an int every 22 years. Well, I'm older than 22, and I don't remember teleporting, but maybe I picked up the True Crown like in my late 20s or something when this game came out. When was that? This game's like 4 years old, right? I would have been in my late 20s. So yeah, I might have picked up the True Crown like back then. So at some point in my 40s or 50s or whatever, I'm gonna teleport. Maybe I teleported while I was asleep. Well, I don't remember teleporting in bed either. I'm pretty sure this is something I would notice. Alright, so we spawn our freeze ray shot. I'm doing this frame by frame, and I'm trying to remember what Classic Guy's controls are on my keyboard, so this is going to be a little bit janky. I apologize for how crusty this is going to look. I'm waiting for him to jump. Why is he not jumping? Classic Guy, jump! Do something! Oh, I grabbed the... Oh no, I grabbed the vine. I think that disconnected me from the tile, so I can't air crawl anymore. Okay, that screws this up. Let's see, can I salvage this? Wake up in a neighbor's house. Yeah, I think my True Crown hasn't procced yet is the thing. Like, I haven't had it for 22 years, so it hasn't procced. Let me see if I can salvage this. So let's see, we have that state, this one. I do want to keep this authentic. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up the air crawl again. So let me do this real quick. Just put the hermit crab in a baby jail so it doesn't move. Alright, so what I could do here is I could pull Classic Guy out of that state and just do it again so I don't have to change his loadout. So let's do that, go to his flags. It's just this one passes through everything, I'm pretty sure. Alright, so he's no longer in the door entering state. So I should still have the glitch reference, which actually I should take that off after I'm done with this, just so I don't destabilize things. We'll make a save state right here before I enact the glitch here. Alright, so I'm going to make a save state right here. That'll be 3, and then we'll use 4 to do our science. Okay, so now I'm going to force him to jump. Ow. I'll force him to jump down there. Well, good thing I made that save state. Alright, so we got him back in the door cancel state. This time I'm not going to put him on a vine because he won't be able to air crawl anymore. So we will have to just do this the hard way, unfortunately. So I'm gonna position myself here. The hermit crab won't come out of the block while I'm doing this. Imagine telefragging the car in front of you. Yeah, I don't think I want to teleport it in real life. I don't even know like what direction it would go in 3 dimensions. I don't really care to find out about that. Feel free to theory craft it, but I suspect it would not be good. Alright, so I'm just slowly hopping Classic Guy over. Alright, he's about in position. I'll fall for a bit. And move him to the right a little more. This is so stupid. I don't think the payoff for this is going to be worth it, but here we are. Alright, so now we delete this tile. We jump one more time. Actually, a couple. I need to wait for the... Actually, this will work. That'll allow the block to move out of the way. Okay, here's our setup. Let's see if this works. Song's pretty good. Yeah, this is from Shapes with a Z at the end. It's a very nice soundtrack. It's like a factory game. If anyone ever wants to know like what a song is, there's no song command. You can type song in chat and I'll just pause what I'm doing to give you a link to it, so just let me know. Maybe someday I'll actually set it up so it shows it on stream. Wonder if the no-code player can enter through the door. They're not going to set it off, I'm pretty sure. I could check that, I guess, but I don't think they're going to set it off. Lo-fi everybody wants. It kind of is. I kind of hear that a little bit. Alright, so we have our save state, so I guess I'll just check that now. I'll give myself the true crown and I'll have classic guy go through the door, but I don't think anything interesting is going to happen here. I don't think it'll get detected. Oh yeah, it does detect it. Okay, so apparently they don't check if you're in the door entering state or going into the shop. It's probably the same exact trigger. So I guess if you're doing this, don't go through the door, I guess is the lesson here, as the player in the door cancel state. No, good call. We checked on that and we learned something new. So back to this. Let's see what happens. So fire the freeze ray. And since I did this correctly, I should be in air crawl. So I should be able to drop it now. And then I should be able to pick that up. I think this frame is going to be the one where I grab. Yeah, okay, so we have it now. I'm running out of save states. I only have 4. Got a teleporter to spawn. That's going to be such a meme category. Like, there'll be something stupid you could do, but that's absolutely going to get banned immediately from actual speedruns. It's amusing, though. That's impossible to do. So anyways, Classic Guy is now holding the Hermit Crab. Which save state do I want to overwrite? See, we have the prep save state. I'm going to overwrite this one. So 2. Yeah, changing the config file. Well, I mean, if you change the config file to a legal value, it's fine. But it's just like the idea that you're changing the config file to something that cannot be achieved without using the game. Or rather, within the game, you cannot achieve that value in the config file, so it's not legit. Would be, I think, the rule to write into Moss ranking for that. Like, your config file can only consist of settings that are possible to achieve through the game. Until we find a way to achieve it, and then I'll change it. Like finding a way to just achieve an out-of-bounds value in the config, which I wouldn't even be surprised if it's possible to do that, because people have not really been like trying to brute force that. So who knows? Maybe that'll be something I find out, or somebody could work on that. All right, so this is. I just want to see what happens. Actually, I'm just gonna leave this. I'm gonna let this play out. This just gets stupider, like, the longer I watch. Like, there's just, the more I dive into this rabbit hole, the dumber this gets. It's like adding an offset. Like, Classic Guy is down there. The Hermit Crab is here, and the push block is here. But the Hermit Crab is stuck on this terrain. And if I have Classic Guy turn around, then suddenly, oh, hey chat, there you go, we're in the shop. We're in the shop, there's a technique, I just have to turn around. That's not even what I was trying to do. I know I'm not holding the true crowd, but I'm in the shop now. We did it. This isn't even what we were trying to do. I just teleported to the shop by just bringing it down there and then turning around. Let's try to do that again. So this is our save state. Let me give myself the true crown this time. This is so stupid. I wonder if I could have done this actually with the shop like that instead. This is so dumb. I guess technically this would work though. So let's see, what we need to do is okay, so the Hermit Crab is stuck now. So I could raise myself up a bit. And then if I turn around on like this frame as Classic Guy, so right now I'm just in the shop. We did it. We did it. We got in the shop. This is the stupidest way you could possibly do this. Yeah, AJE tech. Oh, yeah, just do this real quick. Just go get a push block hermit crab with a player standing on top of it and somehow perfectly execute this entire procedure in real time. But yeah, turning around with classic guy, what happens here is that causes the hermit crab to snap back into his hands even though it's hung up on level geometry. So just by turning to the right, I pulled the hermit crab back into him and I brought the player and the push block into the shop by just pulling them horizontally. Because that only updates the horizontal position of the push block and not the vertical position. Because the push block is just trying to snap horizontally to where the hermit crab is. This game is so stupid. Okay, and then it broke. We did it, folks. And then classic guy dies. Oh god. Save state before it crashes. That one. Yeah, I think he still had the cape on his back, so that might have caused a crash. If I had allowed a single frame to execute there, I think my game would have crashed. So I'm glad it did not. I need to be careful about that. I gotta pay attention. Yeah, it's at the fucking Hulp. Why are there so many parallels between a game written for the Nintendo 64 by people who didn't know what they were doing and a game written in like the 2020s by a team that should have known what they were doing? And yet we have like the same like bizarre glitches with held objects getting like partially updated, thrown at the wrong positions. This game is absolute madness that it even works as well as it does. Alright, so here's the other thing I wanted to try here. So what we were originally trying to do, by the way, was throw the push block to see what would happen. So that we're going to try that. So if I jump a little bit. And that's going to be too high, I think. Let me just throw it anyways and see what would happen. That's a lot of speed. Yeah, it scraped me off of the top. And then I also broke the hermit crab. So this is going to be a little bit annoying. Let me pretend that this is not in my way. And I'm also going to stay a little bit higher as classic guy while I do this. So, same procedure. But I'm going to jump a little bit more often so they don't get quite as disconnected. Actually, I need to fall through the floor so I don't throw the hermit crab into the wall. I need it to stay alive when I throw it. I might have timed this poorly. Yeah, this is going to be a little bit rough. Get some of those. Don't worry about the glitched sprites there. If this actually works like first try, I'm going to be astonished. Alright, let's go ahead and throw it on this frame. Yeah, it broke immediately because I had downward speed. Yeah, I'm going to have to jump right before I throw it. And then Ton sees me. I just want to do this once. There are no practical applications for this, but I want to do this once. I want to move faster than the speed of light. And this whole contrived situation that I have here is theoretically possible in Tidepool. So I just want to get this to work once, and then we will move on to more like ton aggro related science, because there's a few more things we could do. Negative practical applications. I couldn't have put it better myself. Alright, so I'm going to give myself the true crown. And then I'm going to save state again, because I like this state a little bit better. Alright, so I got to time a couple of short hops to do this properly. But we're going to jump once. We'll jump again right here, and then I think I will have time to fall through the floor and then throw this thing at the last second. I'm going to start running on top of the push block. I hope I have time. This might not work. I might have to do this differently. Let's see. Then we throw it. Oh, it worked! We did it! We got through, we threw it and it worked. It actually clipped me forward like just enough. Like, I don't know how much of that was the velocity of the push block and how much of that was it getting clipped forward slightly when I threw it, but I'm gonna count that. I'm counting that. That's good enough for me. So we did it. We got into the shop. Let me take off my back item. Classic guy take his off. Alright, so we won't crash anymore if he falls into the abyss. Totally first try. I did take that many tries, but I mean I had to frame advance through it. If you set the value to 21, it spawns a live bomb. That sounds awesome. I want to screw around with that at some point. Could that be considered teleportation? I mean, technically this is all teleportation because I am parented to the push block. I mean, it is not the act of my character entity teleporting into the shop. It is that I am parented to the push block, and the push block's position is being controlled by the player holding the hermit crab, which can then throw it and turn it around and just generally screw around with it. Like, this game has no distinction between riding on a push block and having it smoothly interpolate to the left versus having the push block that you're riding on teleport. The game makes no distinction between those two things. The push block can move 1/100th of a tile or 10 tiles in a single frame, and anything that's riding on it will just come along for the ride. Won't make any difference. So I am satisfied with that. This is technically possible to do. You can do this in Tide Pool. If you get the planets to align, you have the Hermit Crab, you have Vlad's Cape, you set up the door cancel, you freeze it, you destroy these two tiles, and for some reason, instead of just walking into the shop with the True Crown through these two tiles, you instead decide that you want to use the push block to do it, then you could do it. And just to show you, Ton would have gotten mad if I had just walked through the door like a normal person. It's so stupid. Any questions about that scenario before we move on? And if you leave, she does not get mad. It's only going into the door that counts. Yeah, 255 practical applications, but it's a unsigned integer or an unsigned byte. It's a programming joke. It's not even funny. I just copied the joke and said it differently. This live bomb explodes through the back layer on BM for some reason. God, Lord knows how they programmed that. That's something I want to screw around with at some point, but I think we're done with this specific contrived scenario. This was just essentially ways that you can walk through the door without actually walking through the door. I'm satisfied with that. So I'm going to show a couple other push block scenarios. We're getting like back into the realm of like sanity now. So back to this save state, camera, default. All right, so no one has the True Crown. Let me go ahead and pick this up and then just show this. If what I just did was incredibly stupid, and if you don't want to do all that, then here's how you do it instead. Any questions? Like, I kind of opened this up with like the really bad solution of the problem first, and then I just implemented that one. So the reason why this one works is because, as we were like discussing earlier, no one has any velocity in this interaction. You need to have velocity towards the interior of the shop for this to happen. Yeah, I will show that in a moment, Cloyce. We're getting to that. So you need to have velocity, and the way that push blocks work in this game is very stupid. And you're about to get to the reason why the other situation also works. So if we go back to this save state, and I slow this all down. Let me get Classic Guy back. Okay, so we have both of their velocity and the push block as well. We'll get that on screen. Good. So you can see here, Classic Guy is pushing the block. Nobody is moving in this situation. The other thing worth noting is Classic Guy is actually attached to the push block. This is a pull block. It has always been a pull block. All right, hello Niosa, hello Raiders. What were you up to today? I didn't give shout outs to anyone. Yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to Chimero first because I forgot to do this. And then I'll give yours. I'm a bad streamer. Yeah, Chimero, score runs, Niosa. There we go. Ember Knights. I don't know what that is. Is that like a new indie game or something? That sounds like an indie game. I'm just going to assume that that was an indie game, so I hope you had a good time doing that. We are doing Spelunky Science right now. Deserve. I don't want that. I do not want that many viewers. That is. Oh God, no. I am happy to have like between 10 and 100 viewers. I'm completely content with that. Like, it's enough people to have like an interesting conversation, but not be like absolute chaos where it's impossible to interact with chat. Like, that's my sweet spot. I don't want 10 million viewers. That is a fate that I would not want. I don't know how big streamers do it. I don't know how like streamers that have like a 10,000 viewer audience are able to do it. I mean, I guess it pays the bills. What I'm doing doesn't pay the bills, but I'm not doing this to pay the bills anyway, so I'm content with what I've got. So anyways, explosion might have been fake. There's just 3 damsels on the BM level. I don't know. I'll have to look into that at some other point. So anyways, you want to know what I was sciencing? We are currently figuring out ton aggro with the True Crown. You know how when you walk into the door, or if you don't know this, if Ton sees you enter the shop with a True Crown, she gets mad at you. However, the definition of seeing you enter the shop with a True Crown is extremely poorly programmed. And there are all sorts of... Yeah, I know. There are all sorts of poorly, like, implemented checks that the game does that do not work correctly. So here's one of them. No one has velocity. Classic Guy is actually being pulled by this push block. That is how they implemented this internally. Classic Guy is parented to the push block, and then the push block is moving, and it is pulling him with it. No one has velocity, and you need to have velocity through the door of the shop in order to actually trigger the check. So I could just get pushed in, and then Classic Guy could just walk in right afterward. I don't even need to be in front of the push block for this interaction to happen. You don't have to listen to the sound anymore. Now you have to listen to it again. And that is just due to the way they implemented push blocks. The game just doesn't check at all. So that's one way to do this. And as you can see there, she will get mad if I just walk in normally, but if I'm pushing the block, nothing happens. Just S-tier programming right there. So here's a few other situations. I'm just gonna like shotgun a handful of these. So next one, Crush Trap. This one, you could use this one in Temple. It is very much practical. Extremely easy to do. You trigger the trap. It triggered on Classic Guy. It wasn't supposed to do that. That wasn't part of the script. So you trigger the trap. It might still be aggroed on him. Oh, I got out of there on the last frame. That would have literally killed me on the next frame. Can you get carried by another player? We will be testing that in a moment. But here's how you do this one. Again, as long as I don't have velocity, which I don't, you can see it right there. I have no velocity. The trap is doing all the work for me. I can just go right in, pay for the challenge, and jump. And I could just do the challenge now with the True Crown, if I wanted to. And this one actually works. I could, well, it's waiting for Classic Guy, but the point is I could just go do the challenge now as long as I paid for it. So this is one of the most well-known techniques to do this. But if you have a push block, as I just showed earlier, you can also do it. The next thing that you could use, shield. Doesn't even have to be a metal shield. Wooden shield is all it takes. So what we do in this situation is we have our lovely assistant pick this up. I say lovely assistant, it's Classic Guy. He's kind of wretched. And then just kind of very, very carefully just push me through the trigger, but Classic Guy doesn't enter the trigger. Just like that. And I'm in. And the reason why this one works is because the check that we're doing here, as I mentioned earlier, but so a lot of people weren't here, is that this is half a tile. This half tile that I'm circling with my cursor here, that is the trigger. Player 1 is to the left, Classic Guy is to the right, and the shield creates enough displacement that you could push someone all the way through this trigger without either player moving through it, because my shield holder is not moving in the trigger, and player 1 is being pushed and therefore has 0 velocity, and therefore they don't set off the trigger either. I have actually done this in a co-op run. I convinced somebody with a True Crown to just hold still long enough to do this. It's very easy to do. There's a lot of leeway to it. Because if you look at the position of these two players, 0.88 is the displacement between these two player entities here, and the door is 0.5. So you have 0.38 units of leeway, or about a third of a tile, to like make this work. It's very easy to do if you just move slowly. This is extremely viable in a normal run. So if you're in a group and your players have a true crown, this is not even that risky as long as you have a shield. And then the push block is literally free. You could just do the push block solo and it'll work completely fine. Isn't it super risky to do the challenge? Well, it depends which challenge. The torch challenge is not very risky. The moon challenge, which is the one that we're at now, is risky because you have to, if you teleport, you're probably gonna die. But for the torch challenge, it's fairly easy to stop, like between torch lighting, to just look in a safe direction and teleport. And if you were doing the sun challenge, the one where you fight all the enemies and get the arrow of light, that one's also extremely dangerous with true crown because you will get a true crown teleport during the sun challenge because it's 30 seconds and you teleport every 22 seconds. So you will have to tank a teleport at some point during the sun challenge if you're going to do that. However, if you're in co-op, you can get a different player to do it who doesn't have the true crown and then they don't teleport at all. So if you're in co-op, it's not that bad. It just means that you don't have to be as like inconvenienced by someone on your team having the true crown because you could still get people into the shop to do the challenge. Now let me zoom the camera back out. And then as I showed earlier, if I go in and buy the challenge, then I'm suddenly good to go in and out. For whatever reason, buying the challenge like just causes that to not happen anymore. But once you've bought the challenge, you're free to go. However, if you teleport into the challenge, she still gets mad at you. I showed that earlier, but I'm recapping some of like the obvious stuff. Teleporting and walking through the door are different checks. And then way earlier, I showed that if you could somehow blamelessly destroy these tiles, like a landmine or UFO or spike ball or something, and you have the true crown, you just go around the door. It's only the door that triggers it. So you see here, I'm fine, but if I go in through the door, she gets mad at me. That's just like a quick recap. Yeah, you could get a caveman to push you with the shield as well. So if you don't have a friend, but you do have a caveman, the caveman will be your friend because he's real nice. So just put this guy over here, grab this, give him the shield. Wooden or metal, doesn't matter. Wooden shield's obviously going to be safer. He's going to pick up that teleporter, so I need to get rid of that. So you would do this, you'd let him pick up the shield, you'd aggro him. Thank you. And as you can see, I can get in without getting aggro. So that also works. You do not need a player to do that. Yeah, she'll get mad if player 2 goes in too far. So shield, just do metal shield. It's exactly the same. Literally no difference between the two shields. So if I do that and that, I can go in. The second classic guy goes in though, Ton gets mad, and then classic guy can just stand here like a dickhead while I get pummeled to death by Ton. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Well, it's not weird at all. I'm being pushed, so I don't have any velocity because that's all that it's checking. Yeah, classic guy is a troll. This is like average classic guy behavior right there, what we just saw. Never trust a classic guy. Wretched creatures. But yeah, I mean, this makes sense as far as the game engine is concerned. I'm not moving. Like me, player 1 is not moving. Classic guy is moving, so he sets it off. I don't. Again, the push block is the weird case because nobody is moving when the push block is getting moved by that. So, like, it's just fine. Like, at no point does anybody have velocity into the shop. Well, I didn't have the true crown, but at no point does anyone have velocity into the shop in this interaction. So it just doesn't do anything. Like, that's just how it is. Push blocks are very strangely implemented, and we take advantage of these things here. So, did I miss any questions in chat so far about what I've been showing? And are there any other scenarios that you could think of for getting moved through the door besides being held by another player? Because that is one of the ones that I want to test here, because I think this one is kind of a problem because of the amount of spacing between the players. So I will show being held by player if nobody else has any questions about this. You haven't found a way to skip it. You could bomb the force field and teleport and leave, but it's the same as if you died in the challenge. Yeah, leaving the challenge before it's done cancels it. I don't know the exact mechanics of like which things you could do in the challenges when Ton is dead. It seems like if you buy it and then blamelessly kill Ton, you could just do anything to the shop and Ton won't get mad at you. I don't know, it's kind of weird. That's not what I'm going to be focusing on here, but there is definitely more jank associated with like Ton allowing you to do the challenges while dead. There's a game crash associated with that too, so it's kind of weird. Your guess is that held can work? I don't think held works because I think you're too close. Like I was able to do it with the shield because I had a large displacement between the two players. However, we got to get across 0.5 units with a held player. Hello, Novel. I do not know if it's possible. Let us find out. So I'm going to make a few save states here. Let me just stand like... Let me pick up Classic Guy and make the save state. Oops, I didn't mean to have him whip there. Okay, so I'll make a few save states here. I'm getting rid of the Hermit Crab save states because we're done with that. Getting viewers, yeah, I got stacked by a couple of raids here. As always, I appreciate anyone who sticks around, but if this is not your cup of tea, that is completely fine. I'm not offended. Science is not the Spelunky that a lot of people come to these like streams for, but I think it's really interesting like what happens when you break this game down. So if you like what you see, stick around, consider throwing in a follow, because this is basically all I do anymore because I'm washed up and I don't actually play this game. I do play this game, but usually not for long if I'm going to do it during a stream. So I'm holding Classic Guy. If Classic Guy is picking up to drop you, and yeah, I'm going to try that. I'm saying I don't think that will work is the problem. What about if you dismount a turkey and instantly move sideways? Can you get in like that? We are also going to try mounts. I have that on my list. Am I doing a task? This is not a task, though I am frame advancing. So first of all, let's show what this looks like. So Classic Guy is being held and has no velocity. So if I were to walk up to this door very slowly, and again, the halfway point is the trigger. So I gotta inch my way in here. So you gotta take my word for it here. Classic Guy is in the door trigger. It doesn't matter who has the True Crown. If anybody on your team has the True Crown, every player gets checked as though they had the True Crown. It does not matter who has it. It's stupid, but remember when I pushed myself in with Classic Guy and I was holding the True Crown, and then he walked through the door with the shield, it triggered Ton. Never did the thing. Yeah, if you learn that real fast when you're playing co-op, that if somebody else on your team has the True Crown, Ton will attack you. Because apparently you're all followers of Hundun if you have that stupid item, as if it wasn't bad enough. So anyways, the halfway point of the door is right here, between the two player origins. Classic Guy is in the shop, and player one is not. So if I were to move too far, player one would enter the shop with velocity, and that would trigger Ton. However, if I drop Classic Guy, he is going to get speed. So I'm going to make another save state here, and then I'm going to drop him. He's in the trigger now. He has velocity. The next frame, the game is going to see that, and Ton is going to get mad. And then give him what he deserves. But unfortunately, as much as I love seeing Classic Guy get shot by Ton, this is not what we're here to do. So the question is there a way to get him into the shop without angering Ton at all? Let's try throwing him. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to set my position to exactly on the door. And the way that you do this, if you don't have like frame precision and you don't have the way to set your position, is you can place a rope on the door, and then you hold up as you go in. I am now perfectly centered. If I was literally a single unit further to the left and I moved, I would trigger Ton to get mad at me. Multiple holds? Well, every player in the stack... Well, actually, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, multiple holds might work if the last player in the stack is protruding into the shop, so we can try that as well. That would be incredibly stupid. The last player would have to throw him is the issue, which is likely to hit Ton. But I think in theory you could get him to protrude and then he could jump out of it. Yeah, he could just jump actually. So yeah, that might work. 4 players might work. I definitely want to try that. But first, let me try this with just 2. The method worked. Throw frozen player as he's about to unfreeze with pitcher's mitt. Why did that not work? Well, I guess I don't know. Let's just try this. So let's see. I am perfectly positioned. So let's just try to throw him now at a standstill without the mitt, and let's see what happens. So I will make a couple more save states of this, and I'll just throw him. That's not going to do it. He is still way too far into the trigger, and so on the next frame, he gets shot. Awesome. You love to see it. So back to this frame. Yeah, they could jump. Yeah, I think stream delay. I did realize that a second later. Throwing things is not always the solution. Didn't work because he hit ton. There may be a way to get him to like scoot across the ground and then come to a stop after unfreezing. So there's probably a way to do that with more precision. Give myself the mitt. Alright, so pitcher's mitt. Second scenario. Oh, that's close. I think a running throw without the mitt will probably be capable of doing this. So he's just barely in the door trigger, so he will angry ton. But I think this is possible to do if I have a running start. So without the mitt, running start. Is it possible to stop instantly? Well, funny you should ask that. Well, yes it is, because there's a rope here. So let's see if we can get him in. Let's see, what is my position? Let me save state here. Now the question, it's a valid question of course, will he inherit my speed if I grab the rope on the same frame? So I'm going to throw him on this frame. And I'm going to hold up. I think I'm too early. What happened to my speed, actually? Okay, I actually can't grab the rope. Drone players... Oh, you're right. Yeah, they don't inherit speed, so this may not even work. Yeah, you are correct. I forgot about this. For some reason, drone players do not inherit your speed. Let's see here. What else have we got? No, it's players specifically have... There's weird jank like slow throws as well. Yeah, this is not going to work because Plastic Guy's not going to be moving nearly fast enough. Just out of curiosity, let me see if I could have grabbed the rope on that last frame anyways. Oh, whoops. This one. Alright, so I am in the shop. If I were to grab the rope here... She actually gets mad at me before I grab it. Yeah, I don't think that would have even worked the way I wanted it to. But yeah, thrown players don't inherit speed, so never mind. You're not going to be able to do that. Now, you were saying that a frozen player somehow worked? I'm not like visualizing why that would work in the game engine, but let's go ahead and give that a shot. So, because I can't think of any other ways to do this with just these two players. You know, let's do the player stack real quick. Let me test the player stack scenario. Because that's actually a good idea. If you have 4 nincompoops and you could actually get your idiots to all cooperate, this would probably work. Now, I don't have controls set up for these guys. Awesome, I had the True Crown in my hands. So let me, we're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to do this quickly. I'm gonna turn God mode on while I set this up. And then we gotta do this very, like, quickly before the True Crown goes off. And of course I telefrag ton during that. Alright, so we have our idiots. And let's see, I think the command is pick... It's just pick up, right? Yeah. So I need, Aaron to pick up Classic Guy. That's... Oh, Aaron's player 4. Alright, you pick up player 3. And then quickly now, we don't have much time. Okay, let me make a save state of this. I loaded my save state. Oh my goodness. I apologize, chat. This is what is known in the industry as a skill issue on the part of the streamer. Alright, I have the command, so I can just run those again real quick. So, I want you. I want you. And I want that. Make a save state, actually make it this time. Pick it up after setting it up. Well, that would have been smart, but I didn't do that. So instead we're doing this. So at a glance, well, not even at a glance, I'll run the math here. So what is the displacement between these two players right now? I think I just use these because these should be up to date on this frame. Oh, that's not enough. That's just a little, it's almost enough. It's so close, but it's not quite enough. If I can grab the rope here. So I wonder. Let me make another save state. So if I threw classic guy, this would definitely work. Let's see. I need Alto to throw him. I don't have controls set up for Alto. That's player. Alto's player 3, I think. Okay, I gotta do something cursed. Look away, chat. Programming incoming. So let's see, how do we do this? And I think we have to do this in pre-update. And then I need to have state dot. Let's see, how do you do this? Is it player slots? Player inputs? Yeah, player inputs. We need Alto. Is it buttons? Let me check real quick what the command is for this. I'm basically forcing Alto to submit an input even though I don't have any controls configured for him. So I need to look up the command exactly for how to do this, which conveniently I have it right here because I was doing something related to this for HD mod. So let me just copy this. Yeah, that should do it. I don't want that to be the leader doing it though. Player inputs, player slots, dot buttons. I see. So Alto buttons. And we want him to throw. So that's just gonna be his whip input. Okay, that should do it. So on the next game frame, he should throw the thing in his hands. That's interesting. Why did that anger ton? I wonder if maybe Classic Guy was still here on the first frame of the throw. A part of HD mod. I'm actually trying to hijack the journal, like to be able to show like a custom story for HD mod instead of like the vanilla Spelunky 2 one. And that involves hijacking journal inputs from the leader player. That's the exact context for why I need to do that. But I mean, I did this in Task Wizard too. I was just thinking of like which mod I had open at the time that I could look at the source code for. But in this case, it's actually to like forge a journal input from the leader player to force the journal to open during like the story. It's kind of neat. There's no art assets for it yet, but it's gonna look cool. HD mod has a lot of love put into it, so I'm more than happy to spend time working on stuff like that. But my god, it's a pain in the ass to do it. So what happened here? I think what happens in this situation is Classic Guy has velocity, but he doesn't move on the first frame, so he is detected on the next frame before he moves, and that causes ton aggro. So unfortunately, that is not going to work. So this was a good idea, but it actually doesn't work because there just isn't enough displacement. Even with 4 players, there is just not quite enough displacement between the player stack to get this to work. That's kind of unfortunate. I wonder, can I jump? Wait, I thought oh, I need to clear that callback. There we go. Yeah, that persists between save states. If I could get the players to like clip into the ceiling or something and like clip forward, that would work as well, but I don't think I could get them to do that. Like, they don't want to do that. They don't want to compress themselves. I don't know, could anybody else think of something here? Maybe if I throw him here, actually? Hold on. Where's his origin? Oh, this might work. His origin's not in the door. I'm gonna clear this callback so it doesn't run more than once. No, dude, why would he go down? Spelunky, why are you like this? Ah, he clips down instead of to the side. That was so close to working, too. Yeah, I'm not sure what else I could do. Let me try to throw him up. Nah, still doesn't work. Like, he gets the vertical velocity, but it still doesn't do it. Let me turn off God mode just in case that matters for any reason, but I don't have high hopes for this. The callbacks do not get modified by the save states, so I had to deal with that. I had to clear one of them earlier that was persisting through save states. Yeah, it looks like he just always clips down. That is incredibly disappointing. Because it's so close to working too, but I just can't quite like get enough height on the throw to get him to clip above the door. And I cannot move any closer to the left without like triggering ton myself. So I don't think I can. I just had another idea. Oh my god, the ride never ends. So let's think about this. Would that no, that idea wouldn't work. Never mind. Just ignore me. I was thinking of like getting picked up and jumping out of the player's hands and then getting picked up again, but someone has to move forward at some point during that interaction for it to work, so that would not... Or would it be viable? Maybe 2 players? I'm just thinking how that would work. So it's like they would jump out of my hands without moving horizontally. Yeah, nothing... Oh god. Oh, it might work. Okay, can anybody else think of something here? I have something else really stupid that I want to try. Can anybody else think of something here? I'm out of ideas for the 4 players, so I don't think that's going to work, but I have something way dumber that might work with 2 players. That is better than any of these ideas. Classic guy use a rope. If he spawns a rope, it's going to end up in this tile over here. So I don't think that's going to do anything useful. It's his rope button. Alright, that thing that's behind is still there. That's a bomb. I don't know what his rope button is. Is this? There we go. Yeah, I just threw a rope. You can't really see it, but it's right there. I'm going to assume that we don't have anything else we could do with the 4-player stack, so let me go back to this save state, because I have a better idea. So let's see here. Let me True Crown teleport. I want to do this one in real time. There's I think a pretty good chance that I die over there. Let me get rid of that. Alright, True Crown teleport, go. I guess I had a lot... Okay, yeah, of course. I would have died in that other tile. Alright, so let's see here. God mode is off. So... Oops. Wait, this is... Okay, hold on. My brain turned off. Let's try this again. So you jump. Grab, jump, grab, jump, grab, jump, grab. Any questions? That's it. That's all you gotta do. You just juggle each other. Like no one is moving forward. Yeah, I want to do that one in real time for the wow factor. So let me show you what I just did. So back to this. So here's what we're doing. So I'm gonna get into the door frame, but not close enough to... I was a little too close. Get into the door frame, but not close enough to anger ton. This is, you don't even need a shield. This is just literally free. You can always do this with 2 players, guaranteed. So, classic guy, the hitboxes aren't helping, so let me turn these off. So, classic guy's gonna jump out of my hands. When he picks me up, I'm gonna teleport into his hands, but I'm not moving. So he's going to lean over, grab me. Hey, guess what? I just moved forward. I'm just gonna jump out of his hands now. And now I pick him up, and then he jumps out of my hands. And then he picks me up. And we just gotta repeat this a few times until I'm in the shop. And then I can just pick him up and bring him in. That's it. That's all you gotta do. It's literally free. You don't need a shield. This was so obvious. This solution was just sitting right in front of me the whole time. You could just juggle each other into the shop by jumping out of each other's hands. That's all you have to do. It's absolutely beautiful. Hello, Brianna. Like, it's just, this just makes all of the other 2-player solutions literally irrelevant. Like, I am playing like 2 players, 1 keyboard right now, and I'm able to do this in real time between 2 ground teleports. It just needs a little bit of coordination, and that's it. That's all you need to be able to do this. It has a decent amount of leeway as well. Grab, jump, grab, jump. Oops, and then whip. It's okay. I'm struggling to do it fast. Again, I am playing with a keyboard and 2 players with 2 control schemes on the keyboard. But you get the idea. Let me try. I want to do it. Let me do this in real time. I think I can get this. The important part is don't drop him. If you drop him, that happens. So you need to put him in position, let the other player jump out of your hands, then they pick you up, then you pick them up, then they pick you up, then you pick them up. There we go. That's it. That's it in real time right there. That's all you have to do. Has anyone ever done this? Probably not. I cannot say with any degree of certainty, well, I can say with a degree of certainty, but not full certainty that no one has done this. I think that I'm the one to discover this, but I will not state that as a fact. There have been a lot of people, millions of games probably across like multiple co-op runs of people screwing around and trying to break this video game. It is quite conceivable that somebody else has done this first, but I have never seen this before. So I may have discovered this. I don't know. Either way though, I'm here to showcase the science for you, chat member, to abuse this in your very own co-op runs. So you don't need a shield. You don't need anything in 2 player. With 2 players, that's it. In a co-op run where you have 2 players alive, you just gotta juggle each other through the door. Yeah, you could use the rope to get in a little further if you're like on a time crunch. But a little bit of coordination between the 2 of you and you could just get into the shop like that. And then you're good to go. Once you buy it, you can go in and out of the shop as you please. Just don't teleport in the shop, as we've established before. Okay, so I got sidetracked. Did I miss any suggestions? I think that covers all the held player cases. Let's do the frozen player. I don't think we need to do that anymore, but I want to understand that anyways. So, Dudu, you were the one who had that idea, right? What did you do with the frozen player that didn't work? Awesome, you had it ready to copy paste it. So let's see. Throw frozen player through the door as they're about to unfreeze with the mitt throw. The frozen player being thrown doesn't have velocity or doesn't trigger ton while frozen. Okay, I have absolutely no idea why it would work like that. Let's try it. So, freeze ray. So I'm going to freeze classic guy, and then I'm going to yeet him. Now, I don't know what the timing is going to be for this. I need to give myself a mitt as well, so let me do that. Hitbox is back on, make it a little easier to see what I'm doing. Okay, and I'm going to make my save states here. So if I were to throw him now, let's see what happens. Interesting. Lost my velocity for this. So Classic Guy has velocity, and we have the True Crown. And like Tongue gets mad when hit by him. That check just doesn't go through. So I have a theory. When I was pondering this before the stream while I was looking at the science, because like the science channel had some discussion on this before I did this stream here like a couple days ago. I have the theory that the player entity is actually the one responsible for angering Ton. Like, it's not Ton checking whether or not a player is going through the door. It might be the player entity before it processes movement. The player is actually the one checking if they are triggering the door and violating the Ton aggro. It's possible that it's happening in the other order, and maybe the player being frozen causes that to not evaluate. This would also be why a dead player may not do it either, but when you're stunned, maybe it does process. Like, this is one of those things where I don't have the ability to look into the code and know with any certainty whether or not that's how they programmed it, but that would explain why a frozen player isn't working. A frozen slow throw. I don't know if you could do a slow throw while frozen because you don't have control. We could try it, I guess. So let's see. So I have Classic Guy holding walk to the right now. And I'm going to throw him now. I have to straddle my keyboard in a way that is most unnatural. Okay, I don't think any of those inputs will get ghosted. Yeah, he's moving at normal speed. I don't think you could slow throw while the player is frozen. Yeah, that's like, you don't have control is the thing, so you wouldn't be able to do it. So if I wait for him to unfreeze, and then I pick him up again, just to show what the slow throw is. So I have Classic Guy holding right and walk right now. He could hold left and walk, it would do the same exact thing. Okay, slow throw. If you are holding a directional input, and you are walking, and a player with the mitt throws you, doesn't matter what directional input, I can actually hold left with Classic Guy. So Classic Guy is holding left and walk. And I am throwing him on this frame. Well, you saw it briefly. He moved slowly. Let me do it in the other direction. So he's holding right and walk, or left and walk, it doesn't matter. And I'm gonna throw him. That's the slow throw. That's what that looks like. You just throw slower, and it's because the player's velocity gets applied to the throw on the first frame. This only happens with being thrown, like by another... Oops, sorry, buddy. This only happens when you're thrown by another player. You don't need the mitt to do it either, I'm pretty sure. So it's conceivable that I could just not have the mitt at all while doing this. Make sure not to sprint and you're good. Yeah, well, I mean, it depends what your default scheme is. Whatever your default control scheme is, you need to have the one that makes you walk. And then you need to have a directional input. If you're just holding walk, nothing will happen. You need to be holding a directional input, and then it will override the velocity that you get from the player that threw you. And I think this happens even without the mitt. So it goes both ways. So if I have Classic Guy pick me up, and then I, as player one, am holding walk, Classic Guy doesn't have the mitt. I jumped that one. But you see, I got a really flaccid throw from Classic Guy right there, and that's because I was holding walk, so I just got tossed an extremely short distance. And if we were to do that same exact thing, but I didn't do that, so have him pick me up and throw me, I get thrown way further. That's what the slow throw is. You couldn't make the throws and throw work without the mitt because of the arc. Yeah, that's going to be the issue, I think, is you're going to get some vertical speed. I wonder if doing it in the door frame would work. Or having them unfreeze before they hit the ground would be the other thing you could try. There's a few things we could try. This is kind of pointless. I'm going to test it for a little while, but this is kind of pointless because we don't need to do this. So if I load this state, let me first see what happens if I wait for him to unfreeze at the right time. So, Classic Guy... That's going to be players 2.frozen timer. Oh, I actually got it right. So I'm gonna set the timer to be like 10 frames, so he's gonna thaw in 10 frames. I'm gonna wait 5 frames and throw him. He thaws in the shop, but he still has the full mitt physics, so he still is going to hit ton in that situation. You could probably use like stun ownership pass through or some jank if I like stun myself, but what we want to do here is we want to get him thrown in such a way that he doesn't hit ton after going into the shop. And I feel like if you didn't have the mitt, you could probably do this. So I'm going to go to this frame here, and I'm going to set that up again, but without the mitt this time. So we just need the freeze ray. So grab the freeze ray, stick him here. Freeze him. Put the freeze ray down. Grab him. Save state. And then let's see if we can figure out how to get this to work. So he's gonna thaw in 10 frames. If I were to throw him right now, he's gonna hit the door frame and die. So we're gonna have to do that from further over. So if I walk over into the door like this and just throw him. Wait, no, that's the mitt save. Hold on. I thought I overwrote that save. Oh, it's this one. Okay, we're fine. I saved it over the wrong slot. There we go. So it's 3. So if I just go into the door and throw him here, what happens? He still breaks. He has like a little bit too much height. So what I could do is I could throw him down instead. This would be so precise that it's probably not worth trying to do it. I just want to see if it's theoretically possible. And you could theoretically do it with a mitt too, but with a down throw. Let's just do it without the mitt. So we're going to go over here. We're close, but we're not quite in the shop. I'm not sure, actually. If I down throw him... You know what I could try, actually? Let me rope the ceiling. I'm gonna down throw him here. Or actually, no, I'm just gonna throw him to the left here. Let's just see what happens. Will the ice cage break on the ceiling? Yeah, it does. Okay, so that idea doesn't work. I was hoping that he wouldn't get any vertical velocity, but unfortunately he did. So he still hit the ceiling. You know, 1 frame down throw. I could try that as well. I don't know how that works with the frozen player, actually. That could be interesting. Well, let's see. So 1 frame down throw. This is just me pressing down and whip on the same frame. Yeah, it still yeets him too high. Yeah, what I want to do is I want to jump, and then as I'm falling, I want to throw him to the side with the hope that he will not get enough speed to hit the ceiling and die. That's what I'm trying to do here. So I'm just trying to prove that this is theoretically possible, even if it's not practical at all. So if I'm moving like this, and then I try to throw him, what should happen here is that he just gets, like, he inherits my downward speed. If I do this correctly. Unless, oh no, god damn it, no, right, it's a player. They don't inherit your speed. I actually don't know if players get the narrow tunnel jank either when you throw something. So if I stand in the doorway and throw him, he goes up really high. But the way that this works, I should pick up the troop ground. Like normally, if you throw an object like this, it'll arc forward, but if you're in a narrow tunnel like this and you throw an object, it gets more of a downward arc, but I don't know the exact threshold for that to trigger. So if I'm standing here, something like this, and that's still throwing it up. I don't know what the trigger is for this, actually, now that I think about it. There we go, that's the low throw, right there. You see how the rock just had a low trajectory? I wonder if you need more than 1 tile to get that to happen. Yeah, that's a low throw. This is annoying. I hate this game mechanic because it's hard to tell when it's going to happen. And then if I throw the rock over here, you'll notice it gets a high arc instead of the low arc. I'm wondering if there's a way that I can get that to happen with the player. That's what I'm trying to trigger here. So what if I throw it from like right here? Applies to Tiki Man. I do not know about this. It's one of those things. Okay, I can get the low throw here. That might be it then, if I throw the player like that. If I can low throw the player. But yeah, I think what it is the game checks like in front of you and above you for a ceiling. And if you have like a gap and then a ceiling tile, the game tries to helpfully lower the throw of the item. This is what results in like bats and shit in this spot here. Like if I had a bat where Ton is standing and I tried to throw this rock, this is why this shit doesn't work. It's because of this shitty ceiling mechanic here. The default throw would have probably been able to kill a bat in this situation, but like it just decides like, oh, we're gonna helpfully lower the trajectory of the item for you, and it makes it really, really hard to throw an object across a gap like this. It's super annoying. So let's try this with a player. So if I stand here, does the player get a low throw? They do. They still explode when they hit the ground, but they get a low throw. We might actually have a use for that. So let me stand a little closer to the door. Set the player to thaw in a few frames. Low throw saves the day. So let's just do that with the True Crown. So we have our True Crown now. So I'm going to do that. Well, there you go. So this is not useful at all because we have a way better technique for this. But that'll work, technically. There's no point. The technique of juggling completely obsoletes literally every other two-player technique in the game. But technically, we have a low throw situation that's actually good. It actually does something that you want it to. I was able to throw the player and not have them hit the ceiling. Even though apparently it was still enough height for them to die hitting the ground, but I don't know how that works. Like, being frozen and hitting the ground is a whole nother can of worms that we're not going to open right now, because sometimes you could fall an alarmingly large distance while frozen and not die. But then I literally can low throw a player who is frozen and they just die instantly on impact. It has something to do with your horizontal and vertical speed combined. I don't know what it is. This game is stupid. But there you go, there's some new tech. Yeah, normalize it. I don't think I need to go into this one any further. So, any questions about that so far? Any two-player questions? I have a couple more things on my list. I need to check mounts, among other things. But now's your chance to throw in questions related to having two players. Alright, don't think we have anything. Alright, so, let me zoom back out. I'll just put this guy over here in storage. Alright, so, there was something that came up in that video a lot. Do this video. Again, I'm not going to show the whole thing on stream, it's too long, but one of the things was getting Ton stunned prevents the aggro mechanic from happening for some reason. So let's set up a reproducible scenario. So we're going to just use an arrow, because that'll stun Ton. Let's put that over here. Do that. I'm going to override all my save states. I don't think I need any of the other ones. So if Ton is stunned, and you're not blamed for it, you can just walk into the shop while Ton is stunned with the True Crown, and she just doesn't care. This is another one of those things where I know how this works. Like, it just does. Like, the game just isn't checking for it, but I don't know why it works. So if you can stun Ton, which there are a billion ways to get this to happen blamelessly. Again, like, if you just, like, throw the arrow and then take fall damage or something, and then something else had dealt damage to you. I'll show one scenario of this. So if I do this, I am now owned by that Tiki Man. You can see it on the tooltip for my player character. And let's see if I can get this first try. So if I were to pick up this arrow, jump up here, and this is going to be actually really hard to do. not quite. I'm gonna try to do that with the mitt instead. I mean, I know I'm gonna teleport in a moment here, so hopefully it doesn't kill me. I'm just setting up like one contrived scenario that'll cause this to happen, so let's get the True Crown teleport. There it is. Alright, so I am owned by that Tiki Man right now, and what that means is that if I'm stunned, which I need to take damage from him again. There we go. So if I'm stunned, and then Tun takes damage from something I did, it is going to blame it on the Tiki Man instead. There we go, I'm stunned, and I got blamed anyways because I did something wrong. Let me reset that and try that again. I did something wrong there. Okay, so let's get hit and take our True Crown. This should work at least. Do that. If somebody knows why that didn't work the first time, tell me please, but I'm assuming I just timed something wrong, or I got hit by the thorns first instead of the fall damage. So I'm going to do this like that. Okay, there we go. Alright, so I'm definitely owned by the Tiki Man. So let's go up. Let's do this. That is enough height to take fall damage. Go to the arrow. I'm owned by the Tiki Man. Alright, game, I am stunned. Huh. I actually don't know. I thought this would work. I'm as confused as anybody else right now. That arrow is owned by me, who's owned by the Tiki Man. I am stunned. The pacifist experts would probably know why this didn't work. I literally did this earlier with a bomb, and it worked completely fine, and now it isn't for some reason. Huh. I actually don't know why this isn't working. Owner, guy Spelunky, owner, Tiki Man. Tiki Man's not owned by anyone. Need to be mid-air during the hit. Am I like landing on the frame that I touch the ground or something? There is something to do with being on the ground that breaks it. But I'm not on the ground right now. I thought I was in the air. Could be something to do with the mitt throw, I suppose. Let's just try to do this without the mitt. So let's... this is actually a huge pain now. Let's try to do this without the mitt. So I'm going to pick this up. I said I'm going to pick this up. I just want to show this once. I just want to showcase this once, and then we're going to stop screwing around with this. Okay, that should work. Alright, so this is enough to take fall damage. So I have no mitt this time. I'm just going to yeet the arrow into the shop. I don't have enough speed. It doesn't even have enough speed to hit Tun. I want to know why this isn't working. We did this with a paste bomb earlier. I'll show the scenario again. So if I have a bomb, which I have bombs in my inventory, I don't even need to do that. So let's get owned by this guy. And then let's make our save states. Grab our True Crown. Place a bomb. So that is going to damage the shop, which should anger Tun. But if I were to go all the way up here... Okay, she gets mad because I'm on the ground. So if I were to go all the way over there but then bounce, so I'm going to have to time this correctly. I'm sorry, I am showcasing this very poorly right now. Too late. There we go. That's what I was talking about. That's blameless shop vandalism. My question is, why was I not able to do that with the arrow? So I'm just going to try to do this in like real time with the arrow and see if I could get this to work. Because I'm not sure why it's not working. So let's just do it over here. So go ahead and pick that up, make a save state. I don't have a good way to do this. Good. Oh god, I don't know, chat. I'm not sure why this isn't working. I don't think any of our pacifist experts are here for me to like showcase this properly. I feel like it has something to do with the mitt. So you know, let's just try something different then. Let's not try to throw that into the shop anymore because that's clearly not working. So let's just try to do something different instead. Like lure Ton out of the shop and then just have like a turkey, do the turkey headbutt one. So here's one. This one's from Dudu's video. So if you could get this situation with a shop, which isn't terribly unlikely, you do this, you like use a shield or something to push Ton out of the shop. I need to actually set all this up again without the true crown in my inventory. Ow. Alright, so you would do something like this. You could like push Ton a little bit. This is before you pick up the true crown. So this is all contrived. I'm just trying to showcase something here to prove that I'm not insane, that you could do stuff like this. But if you were to be able to blamelessly stun Ton, which you could do in this situation with a turkey, then you could just walk into the shop with the true crown. You could get Ton to patrol, for instance, if she gets hit by like a boomerang guy. I think that'll happen. But I think the way that this works with the turkey is if you're not on the turkey when it knocks an item onto Ton's head, you just don't get blamed for it because this game is stupid. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make save states, get on the turkey, and I'm going to screw that up. I need to get off the turkey before she blames me. So we headbutt and get off and then accidentally hit ourselves. I should jump off instead, actually. Alright, the crouch. There we go, like that. And then she just kind of goes into patrol mode, and I can just walk into the shop. But she will get mad if I do it there. So, like, you saw me pull it off. Let me do it again, because it was a little bit fast. It was headbutt the arrow, jump up off the turkey, and then just go into the shop, like, while Ton is stunned. And you could just do the challenge. She also goes into patrol mode. So that's another, like, blameless technique that'll allow you to get in here. I just wanted to show that scenario. This is just the stun scenario. I don't know why throwing the arrow didn't work. I am not a pacifist professional, so there's probably something I'm missing here that allowed that. Yeah, that's the thing. If you can enter the shop to push Ton, but here's okay, fine. Here's the whole scenario. Here's the hypothetical. Like, there's multiple ways you could do this with multiple enemies. Let me get a different Tiki Man. I need this guy to chill out. There he goes. So if you had like a Tiki Man, for instance, and you had a boomerang, here's another one. This one's not even going to involve like stunning Ton blamelessly. So if I just let this dumbass like wander into the shop here, which he'll do in a moment, let me speed it up a bit. Alright, so then I'm going to pick up the true crown. Alright, so I'm going to save my game. I'm save stating right now. Grab the true crown. A little late on that. Let me try that one again. I knew I would screw that up. That's why I made the save state. It ended. That was too early. There we go. Just like that. I can just walk into the shop with the true crown. And that's like another blameless tech that you could do. And then Ton, it just goes into patrol mode and doesn't care. And this one, actually, she doesn't seem to care at all that I have the true crown. Hey, Ton. Like, I don't even know. Like, there's stuff going on here that just doesn't make any sense. I guess if she's not in the shop or something. Yeah, first try. It was like second or third try, right? I don't remember. I could probably do it in real time. It's not even that hard. Easy. Yeah, I don't even know, like, why Ton just doesn't care sometimes. It's bizarre. I don't have good answers for this stuff. Yeah, right there, actually. When she was in the room and I went in, then I got blamed. But if Ton is not in the shop at all, I just didn't get blamed for that for some reason when she's in patrol mode. But then if Ton is not in patrol mode, if she got like pushed out of the shop somehow else, no. This dickhead. But then if Ton is not in patrol mode, no, it's actually fine. Apparently she just doesn't care. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that. Well, we just found another one. Ton has to actually be in the shop to get mad at you. Yeah, in the shop room, I think. So if I turn this on again. Video on this like 20 years ago. Yeah, well, we're enhancing the science a little bit. So if you can get Ton like outside the shop, she just doesn't care anymore. But right here, a little bit in the shop room, suddenly Ton cares again. So I don't know if we ever came to that conclusion in that video, but like that's apparently how this works. She's gonna get mad at Tiamat. Yeah, I mean, well, Ton, it's unclear. So here's the thing, that there's no consistency, and I don't think we're ever gonna find consistency. But the thing is, the trigger is the player entering the little door ringy tile is like the first trigger that causes it to happen. But then some additional criteria have to be met. One of those criteria is that you have not bought the challenge yet. And another one of them is apparently the ton has to be in the room. So the 10x8 tile room where the shop is to trigger. So if ton is out here and you go through the door, that will not trigger aggro. For some reason. Like that's just another one of the checks, and I don't know why. And then ton has to also not be stunned. And I also don't know why they're checking for that. So like if ton is stunned blamelessly, oh my. Like I didn't do it. Ton is just stunned. Oh well, I gotta probably get in the shop properly. Oh well. Okay, that everything I tried to do there was executed poorly, but the thing is, if ton is stunned, I can just walk in. Like nothing bad will happen. I can walk out, stunned, I can walk in. I don't understand it. Now what if ton is frozen, like blamelessly? And that's the thing where the freeze ray is weird, because you basically always seem to get blamed for that. So we are gonna go into this a little bit. If I had a caveman with a freeze ray, so like this, and not the teleporter, don't take that, that's mine. He will shoot the freeze ray if he trips over an object. So I'm gonna like set up this whole scenario here. We're gonna give him like a rock to trip over at the door. So he should be able to hit ton if he trips over this rock right here. He should be able to hit ton with the freeze ray. So what I'm gonna do here is wait for him to pick it up, which he's gonna do any second now. There he goes. I'm gonna give myself the true crown. Let me make a save state like right here. And then I'm gonna aggro him. And Ton actually got mad, but she waited until after unfreezing. So let's do that one in slow motion. So aggro the caveman. I'm gonna hit him. Should have hovered earlier. Alright, aggro the caveman. So he trips over the rock, freezes ton. I think I'm already sentenced to death right now. So let's see, do we have aggro? Street cred. We don't have aggro yet. So Ton is not mad at us yet. Now if I step out of the shop, let's see if she gets mad. Yeah, Ton's already mad. And it's also worth noting, we got the Servant of Hundun dialogue, not the Foolish Follower dialogue that you got. So this is, I mentioned this earlier in the stream, and I'm not going to do a whole segment on this right now. This is what I was talking about with, like, the player getting blamed for basically any fucking random, like, freeze ray shot hitting Ton. Like, it's just assumes that it's the player's fault when the NPC thaws out. Like, it doesn't matter who did it. It's just aggro for some reason. But I guess maybe it doesn't, like, give you kill credit if they die, but you still get blamed if they thaw out. It's probably the same with shopkeepers, but the point is this means we cannot use Ton for this because she'll just get mad anyways. For whatever reason. It's strange. This is a strange video game. Now, another thing that you might be thinking is, why can't I just teleport into the shop during this situation? And you just can't for some reason. So if I were to do this, and then teleport... I don't have the true crown. Hold on. Reset. True crown. Blamelessly stun Ton. Ton gets mad anyways, and even like fucking turns around, like in the middle of the stun animation. So like if you were wondering just how hacky this implementation is, it's pretty bad. Like whatever it is that they did here. So again, in slow motion, if I grab my teleporter, jump up here, maybe be a little higher, get Ton stunned. She's not even holding the crossbow and is facing to the right, but when I teleport, She fucking turns around and takes out the crossbow, which is still facing in the wrong direction. It's like just they didn't even test anything when they set this up. It's not even attached to her, it's just on the floor. Like, Tun just deposits the crossbow onto the floor. Like, in that state. Like, it's absurd. Like, this was hacked in after release. And you could clearly tell that whoever programmed this in after the release as a hotfix knew even less about what they were doing than the one who programmed the door entry case. Like, there's just two different conditions that have completely different circumstances that will cause time to aggro you. Yeah, Axo bubble. Yeah, hold on, I missed a couple chat messages. Yeah, you get an untamed axe at a shooter, she walks out. Yeah, if you can get anything to get her to walk out of the shop, pretty much is what we were seeing there. So Axolotl will do it. I think Rock Dog will also do it, if I recall correctly. Now, I think I get ownership of the Rock Dog Fireball, so it has to be a wild Rock Dog for this to actually work. So I'm going to set the tame flag to nothing. Because I believe the player, get blamed for the Fireball. But if I jump on it, if I jump on it and then get off... So let me nab the True Crown before I go for this. I gotta get this stop in the right spot. No, not quite. Nah, I got blamed for that one. I'm not sure if it's because I was too close, or maybe the fireball never works. Now that I think about it, maybe the fireball never works, but the Axo bubble does. Let's do that in slow motion one more time. I think maybe this one actually doesn't work. So if I spawn a Rock Dog, set it to be untamed. Let's get it to turn around. Turn around, turn around. There you go. And let's get on it and let's see who owns this fireball that it's going to shoot when I ride it. Okay, I own the fireball. Yeah, okay, it doesn't work for Rock Dog at all. I think Axolotl is the one where this works. So if we spawn an Axolotl instead... Now if I shoot a bubble while it's tamed... I own the bubble, so what if it's wild? You're saying tamed Axo bubble dismount works, but let's see. No, I'm not sure what you're talking about there. That don't work. I got blamed for that. Is there something I'm missing here? Like, I own that bubble that I just shot from this tamed Axolotl, and Tun got mad at me from getting hit by it. Dismount earlier. Oh, you're right. It's the animation. I figured this out before. Yeah, I'm being a dummy. I figured this out before. I remember. So yeah, it'll work for tamed or wild Axolotl. It's the animation. The Rock Dog shoots instantly, but if you get off the Axolotl before the bubble gets shot, or rather before it spawns in, so I screwed that up. Let me try again. Before the bubble spawns in after a few frames, then you don't get blamed for it. So let's get the True Crown, get on the Axo, and I'm going to save state. Yeah, that right there. So Tun, like, got upset, but doesn't know I did it, because Tun's an idiot. And then I could just do this until she wanders back into the shop. If Tun is in the shop, though, I'm gonna get blamed for it. Okay, so that's consistent then. And this is what it was in slow motion. I fire the bubble, and then like a couple frames later, I jump off the Axolotl. Before the bubble spawned, the owner is the Axolotl, not me. It did not pass the ownership through to me. So unfortunately, your Axolotl is gonna tank a hit, because for some reason, Tun is able to shoot a crossbow bolt before getting bubbled. I don't know how the priority for that works. But I could either walk into the shop now, or I could just wait for Tun to leave. And then I just go in anyways. This game's weird. Poor Axolotl. The P1 and P2 arrows cover the HUD. I'll be honest, I don't know why those are still there. Why are those still there, chat? Have those been there this whole time? I'll be honest, they're actually kind of useful. Why are those there? Why are those arrows on my screen? I don't even know. Is this like a... Did I accidentally hit a hotkey? Chat, I have no idea why those arrows are there. Whatever, I'm gonna leave them. I don't know how to get rid of these. Can I shuffle them out through a door like with the two-player shuffle? Possibly. We're gonna try that. Let me see if there's anything else I could think of here for this. So those are the stun scenarios for Tun. If Tun is dead or stunned, I can walk into the door. However, under no circumstances can I teleport into this door. Like, it just doesn't work. And we checked earlier as well. If I get stunned, if I get Tun killed by this, great, cool. I pray to get Tun to die, and instead it's just like, you know what? No, you're getting knocked out to the right. So if Tun is dead, but it's not my fault that it happened, and I put her in the shop, I can walk through the door all I want. And I can teleport in. So teleporting works if Tun is dead. Walking in works if she's dead. However, teleporting in when Tun is stunned will get her angered. But walking in while she's stunned will not get her angered. And then if she's awake, both events will aggro her. So like that's like the diagram of sorts for how that works. Yeah, snap you to a mount. Let's just go ahead and try that now, I guess. Go do that. They're gone now. Wait, why'd they disappear? What is... No, okay, now they're gone. Why are they just... I don't understand. Well, yeah, it's in the save state. Why are they there in the first place is the question. We're 5 minutes into the level. Why are the arrows for entering the game there? I haven't gone into this layer door in ages either. I don't know. I'm just gonna remake the save state. Yeah, I'm just making them right here. Okay, arrows are gone. Arrows are gone forever now. Alright, so, mounts. Let's just get a turkey, because that's pretty generic. What can we do with this? So first of all, who causes Tun to get mad when you step into the door with the mount? So we're going to grab our true crown. And then we're going to save our state. And let's just see when Tun gets mad at me. It's not when the turkey goes in the shop. So let's see, what is my position? Okay, so I am ever so slightly in the trigger. Alright, see you, cue ball. Yeah, I am just ever so slightly in the trigger, which means I think aggro is going to happen on the next frame. So I think the game has like a sanity check of sorts for this, like to make sure you can't just walk into the shop on a mount. Because like, I don't have any velocity, the mount has it. The mount is not the one being blamed for walking through the door, however, it's still the player. So like this mechanic extends to the mount that you're riding. You can't like cheese it. It's not like you're not moving so you don't trigger it. If the mount is moving and I, the player, am in this trigger, that appears to be enough to activate the condition for Tun to get mad and blame you for having the true crown like a nincompoop. So the question is there anything funky we could do to get through this? So let's see here. So if I drop the mount, it goes too far forward. I can't pick it up again in that situation. So I can't like juggle my way into the shop using the mounts like I would with a player. And if I get off of the mount, I jump off at the same exact spot that I would normally. It's not possible. I wouldn't say that. I have an idea. So let's go into the shop as far as we can without the player getting blamed. And let's turn around for one frame. Hello, Ted Cuddy, welcome back. So I'm further into the shop. Did this help me at all is the question. If I press left, will I get blamed? I think I will. No, okay. Yeah, I guess I didn't move any further in. Yeah, actually, I'm not sure where I was going with this. This did get me into the trigger. I could pick up the turkey, but I don't have a good way to, like, set it down in a better spot. Now, you do move to the back of the mount, so... like, if I were to do something like this, where I am extremely close to the door... or rather, I place the turkey in such a way that its wide-ass hitbox might allow me to mount it without me going into the shop. And then I could just get off the turkey. Yeah, okay, maybe there's a chance that this works. Something like that, so let's try that. Now, will I be able to mount the turkey in this situation? No, I think my origin has to be on the mount. So I'm gonna need a little bit of the turkey's bosom to protrude off the door here. So let's try this. Let's just pretend I dropped it here instead. And then I'm like, I use a rope or something to align myself. Oh, I still had velocity. Alright, hold on. Alright, so that would be my position there. And then the turkey is just ever so slightly protruding over to the right. Just enough for me to get on it. That does allow me to get on the turkey. I can turn around, and I can jump off the turkey. Alright, it's possible. You could use a mount. It's possible in solo with a mount. It's just barely, like, just barely possible. So let's see if I can find a setup to do this. So it'd probably be something like this. Actually, I wonder if I can whip the turkey. What I'm thinking is I want the turkey to be facing right, so I don't have to do that frame where I turn it around to get myself off of it. So what if I, like, got the turkey facing right and then whipped it? That's not close enough, so that would get me killed. Yeah, so that would get me killed if I did that. It's pretty damn precise. I'm not going to spend all night looking for a setup for this. I just want to see if I could, like, do it. That's close, but not quite. So maybe, like, right here. It's not that bad. You just have to, like, be... yeah, just kind of... the consequence for failure is a little bit sharp. But if you want to see, like, exactly where I had the turkey here, I just kind of positioned it, like, a little right there, like a little, just smidge away from the edge of this tile. So there's a little gap right there between the edge of this tile and the turkey while you're mounted. And that was enough to get me this setup here. It's not really a... oh, well. Okay, classic guy, you do it. I mean, I don't have the true crown anymore. It took too long to set it up, but you get the point, I think. So it's like you get the turkey, like, right about here. You whip it, you get on the rope, wait 4 hours for the fucker to wake up, and then you can just go into the shop. So, yeah, that works. That's a thing you can do. If you fail, you can move to the right. Yeah, if you react fast enough, but I mean, then you still failed. Like, Ton's mad at you now, so it defeats the purpose. It doesn't have setup tech, or at least not yet. I mean, I could check if, like, this is set up. Like, if you were to align yourself somehow to that tile, you can't really do that normally. Yeah, that works, actually. Yeah, so, like, if you could get the turkey perfectly lined up to this tile here, it would work. It's just you don't normally have a way to do that with a shop. Ow. Yeah, I can't think of a way to get that specific setup in front of a shop like this, but it's like you could do it. I will let somebody else figure out a setup if they really want to, but like this is the basic guideline. It looks like you can get the face of the turkey here between like about this distance all the way up to the edge of the tile. Like it seems like any of those will work. Maybe a little further to the right. Yeah, because that wasn't enough. So like, well, let me reset it. Very hard to, there we go. That's like as close as you probably want it to be to the left. And that is enough that you can whip the turkey, do your alignment here, and then get on it. And then you can just go into the shop. Ow. Oh god. And then of course you can reuse the turkey if you leave it in that spot, but once you buy the challenge, you can just go into the door, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's that setup. I'm surprised that worked. And as far as teleports, I just want to check something here. So that one doesn't work. Telepack. I'm just checking all the teleports. Yeah, that one also hangers it. It's probably any teleport that does it, and then axolotl. Yeah, every teleport. So that doesn't matter, like how you teleport into the shop. Being on the mount still counts as you teleporting for the purposes of the check. And you can't have like a friendly co-op player teleport you or anything because they are blamed as well. So like if anybody teleports you in, you're screwed. However, there's one thing you could do. There's one super cursed thing that you could do, and if someone already knows what it is, but let's do it anyways. So if you commit a crime and you use a telepack and you actually take it off with the door cancel state and put it on this push block, or not the door cancel state, the back item dupe state. So if we take our teleporter backpack, put it on, again, pretend I did the funny back item dupe to get it off my back. I could teleport this push block. Now it's going to always teleport to the right because that's just what it's programmed to do. But if I were to, for the purposes of this experiment, set the facing direction on this push block to be facing left instead, like just for the purposes of this experiment, it will teleport to the left instead. Normally it's always the right, but pretend that this shop is to my right instead. If I get on this push block here, or rather, let's just get classic guy on it instead. Assuming that it doesn't telefrag ton, which there's a chance that it's going to, you could get to the shop by doing this as well. So, make a save state, do an air teleport, and we're good. Classic guy is in. Somebody has the true crown. Ton doesn't get mad. So technically, you could do that. It's gonna have, you're gonna have the teleport. Oh no, ton. Well, game crashed. But anyways, we were overdue for that to happen. We were overdue for that. But anyways, you get the point. So the telepack with the push block is a viable way to do that. Yeah, Ton fucking like forced, I think Ton forced a safety teleport from the push block by hitting me in the air, which caused the game to crash. We were long overdue for that. If you have a custom skin you want, now's a good time to redeem it, because I've been running the other two for ages. But while I start my game up, or I'm going to start my game up in a moment, let me know if you want to redeem a skin. But anyways, that covers most of those cases. We're not done yet though, so I'm going to go back in. I have a couple more I want to try. But you can get in by being teleported by an active floor. It's only like the mounts, I think, that the game checks for that kind of check. So let's see, while I wait for this, what are my other things? We checked the detection mechanics, we tried teleporting, crossing the door, we tried various like dead cases. Man trap we have not checked, so I will check man trap in a moment. I mean, I already know partially what happens. We tried mount, nothing interesting there. You get blamed. Being carried by a player, active floor teleport, pushed by shield. Yeah, so we need to test Ton with man trap, and I think that's the only one that I haven't hit yet. Punish ball is pretty cool. What was the punish ball one? Describe it to me. Okay, nobody redeemed a skin, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start with the same ones. Yeah, what was the punish ball? We'll try that, and we're gonna also test what happens if Ton is in a man trap when you enter the door. Man trap interactions require like a whole segment or stream on their own, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna do the man trap thing today because it's a very involved science segment. But Mantrap vendor interactions are extremely cursed, and you're gonna see like a smidge of that here in a moment when I do this. Get Overlunky up again. Don't look, chat. Don't look at it. Just fucking skin. Alright, last call. I don't want to have to change this again after I pick one. Remove ownership, use it to break her roof. Okay, I see what you mean. Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that part of the clip. That's just another, like, stun ownership. Not stun ownership. That's another blameless, like, vandalism, like, scenario. Where you control a mechanic of the thing, of the punish ball. I tried to click on Colin to play as him. Like, I don't know what I thought was going to happen. But yeah, let's go ahead and do this. Let's do this in Volcano just to freshen things up as well. So we get the drill. This is going to have it. Hey, look, Volcano, you don't got to put all the lava at the start of the level. Save some for the bottom. Alright, so same thing as before. Toolbox. Pest control. Remove the nuisances. Can I delete all the Magmars? There we go. Just get rid of the Magmar logic. Okay, so we don't have anything annoying to bother us in the level this time. Alright, so here's our same ton shop. I'm going to clear out a little bit of an area, then I'll save state. And we should be able to do roughly the same garbage as before. Here's our True Crown. We're almost done here. Baby, can't you see I'm calling? There's a song, right? There's definitely a song in here somewhere. I just found a teleporting border. Okay, that could have been a lot worse than it ended up. It just didn't end up doing anything when I placed it. Okay, we're clean now, so let's make our save states. Alright, so same drill as before. Here's our setup, and let me turn off God mode. So what was I going to check? I was going to check Mantrap, so of course I went to Volcano to check Mantrap interactions, and then there's the Punish Ball. So what is above the shop? Oh, lava, of course. Well, I really should not have gone to Volcano to test any of this. Well, we could test the Punish Ball scenario here, so let's do this. Let's see, I think it's attach Punish Ball, or attach Ball and Chain. I don't know why it's different. Okay, so we have a Ball and Chain now. And I currently own this Punish Ball, so if I were to do this, I get blamed for that. That's my fault. I did that. However, if I can get something else to take ownership of this Punish Ball before I do that, it's suddenly not my fault anymore. So if I were to spawn something like a Firebug, something that can apply knockback to it. I need the... Would you come down here, please? Give it a second here. This should work. You're not going to cooperate, are you? Okay, there we go. The Firebug owns the Punish Ball. So you see the owner tag for it. Now the Firebug owns this. So if I can get this Punish Ball over here without whipping it or picking it up in any way, awesome. I have ownership of it again now because I roped it. I just put it up here, try that again. Man, I love Punish Ball mechanics. Okay, so you take ownership of the Punish Ball. There we go. Alright, so like that. So now the Firebug still owns this Punish Ball, but it's straddling these two tiles. So if I'm very careful about how I do this with the rope, I could break these tiles, and Tun shoots, because Tun is actually upset with that Firebug, but will not aggro on that Firebug. So I could just do this, and then die. But if I didn't die, I could break all the tiles. I could then just go into the shop. So that's just another blameless aggro scenario, where Tun gets mad at a random enemy in the level instead of the player, and then you could just break the shop and go in. So I'm going to do that again, except I'm going to do a better job this time. So let me find the shop again. Yeah, you don't need to break every tile, you just got to make a hole. Let me find one that doesn't suck. So let's go to Volcano again. God mode, disable the death screen this time. Cool, this one sucks. I don't know why the drill is getting prioritized. I thought the challenge gets prioritized, but apparently not. Whatever, we'll just do this in jungle. There's no reason to be a volcano for this nonsense. It's just causing problems. So jungle, and the jungle again, that should, there it is, all right. So we can do it here. This is actually a decent example of how to do this. So if we were to like carve out a hole here and punish ball ourselves and put it here, then if we got an NPC like a tiki man or something to trigger it, so if I had a tiki man with a boomerang, let me just make a save state here real quick. Get the boomerang first. Like anything that could knock it back could do this. I think, I forget if cavemen could pick these up or not, but that would also work. So we do that, delete all that, save states. I'm waiting for him to be in the back of his like path there. All right, so the Tiki Man now owns this punish ball, not the player. So what I could do in this situation, I want to use a rope so I don't take ball damage, but I could just kind of hang like this, and I can break tiles in the shop, and Ton won't care. Now that didn't help us, but if we carve out the next column over, so if I were to, let me just pretend that these thorns aren't here so that I could do this a little more consistently. And then I wait for this guy to throw. So he has ownership of this punish ball now. So I can do the same thing again. I'll use another rope as well. And I can break this with True Crown. And you see Ton is going to keep shooting like that, which I need to be a little careful of. When this tile breaks, there we go. And then I can just walk in. And this dumb idiot has no idea what I did. And that's just another door bypass. So this isn't a new tech. This is just a different way to blamelessly vandalize the shop. And as you can see, by walking like this, Ton does get mad. So that's just another way to blamelessly like damage the shop. Nothing terribly special, but it is a use for the punish ball, and we love our punish ball around here. So let's see, there was that one, and then I had one more, and it was the man trap. So let's go ahead and try the man trap now. Let me just get rid of this. Game, you're supposed to... This item is supposed to get crushed when you do things like that. Whatever. Just own me. Alright, we got rid of the punish ball. Alright, so, the last thing that I want to test, man traps. The man traps are cursed. There are a lot of problems with how man traps work in this video game with vendors and the way they're captured in them. We are not going into that. I know about the camera thing. For anybody who's going to tell me about the camera thing, I will give you a teaser. But I am not going to go into the science for that. Why didn't it get crushed? Because the game looks for like a crush event. The punish ball doesn't get crushed by walls, I'm pretty sure. It's just like the event of being like crushed between two objects causes it to get destroyed. I don't know enough about the crushing mechanics to explain it properly. What about the camera thing? Thank you for asking exactly what I said not to. I will show that in a moment here, but first let's just test the basic scenario. And then I will show the camera thing, and that will be a sneak peek at a future stream where I will probably go into more detail about that. So these are our usual weapons. And then if you had a man trap that wandered into the shop, it's very easy to get this to happen. Just pick one up anywhere in the level and drop it in. Actually, let me delete it and make a save state right here, and then drop the man trap in and make another save state. So this guy is up to no good, and he's going to eat Ton. So this is the control scenario. If this guy eats Ton, everything is fine. I have no true crown. Now, if he eats Ton and I walk in like this, the man trap equips a crossbow. So like you can already see that things are getting a little bit funky, because once again, the developers of this game did not program it correctly, and they did not check any edge cases throughout the entire like 4 or 5 year like development life cycle of this video. I don't even know how long this game was in development. How you demand I don't show it. Well, you know what? Now I'm going to. So too bad. No one gets what they want. And then out of... Oh, never mind. I was about to say out of some absurdity. And here's the other scenario. One also gets mad about that. So this looks the same. Look, I can't please everyone because you apparently wanted both things. You want the camera thing and you don't want the camera thing. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to disappoint you one way or the other, and I've chosen to disappoint you in the way that'll be least disappointing to the rest of my chat. I wonder if I could pick up that crossbow. So, like, there's a few things I want to test here. It looks like Ton has the crossbow equipped, so it's not like the man trap is actually wielding it or anything. We can look at that really closely here. The crossbow is held by Ton right now, according to the tooltip. But Ton is invisible, and is inside of this man trap. However, the instant that she gets out, like, her AI will turn back on and I could get shot. I don't think I could pick up the crossbow in this scenario. No, I cannot pick up the crossbow. I can, of course, pick up the man trap. And then the usual business happens. So, I think the weird bug here is the fact that Ton is able to, like, aggro while inside of the man trap. Now, the question is, if Ton is stunned and then gets eaten by the man trap, does the same thing happen? Well, that's my question. I don't know if it was anybody else's. So if I spawn an arrow, just the usual metal arrow, whatever, I'll put it over here. And then I get Ton stunned by this arrow. I don't know why. I hit Ton on the right side and she fucking goes to the right. It's this goddamn game. I'll let the man trap get a little closer. Alright, is she gonna go to the right again? I don't understand. Why would this interaction result in Ton going to the right? Alright, so you get eaten. So Ton is stunned and in the man trap. You can actually see two sets of, like, little birdies. There's one for the man trap and then there's one for Ton. And I think it's going to be basically the same mechanic. Ton does not get mad during that situation because Ton herself is stunned. However, that situation, the teleport, still causes aggro. So I think what is going on here is Ton, for the purposes of this game, is not actually stunned right now. And has, like, the same triggers as she would normally. So teleporting in always causes aggro. However, if Ton is stunned and then gets eaten by the man trap, Ton is still stunned, so teleporting in still triggers her, but going through the door does not. Any questions? And now I will show you the man trap jank. So if you have a camera, this is just a teaser, but if you have a camera, and then you let an NPC, like, get eaten by a man trap, I don't have the true crown on right now, and you take a picture, it gets a little bit funky. So you'll notice here we've got merchant and then we've got man trap. So there's kind of two of them right there. So I'll take another picture here. I'll just do this in real time, actually. And something's not quite right about what's going on here, is it? I can't even pick her up. As long as I keep this man trap stunned, like, Ton will, like, sort of stay inside of it, but also she has her own aggro timer. Let me get rid of that bear trap before it ruins the demonstration. Yeah, this is absolutely forbidden knowledge. So Ton is, like, still, like, aggroed and in the man trap, but also running around. We'll do a stream about this later, but this is the sneak peek of what happens in this situation. Yeah, this is forbidden knowledge. I need to return the slab of these streams. Like, oh. Well, you get to see what happens. And then the man trap dies, and then Ton just materializes where she was, but is already awake. Yeah, Ton's not no-clipping. Ton's just invisible. It's not no-clipping. Wish people didn't call it no-clipping. It's basically you're just in the door entry state, and then also you're invisible sometimes, depending on the timing with which you do that door entry state. But anyways, that's the man trap, like, camera jank. This happens for all the NPCs. I don't know all the implications for it. That is for a future stream. That's just a sneak peek of things to come. So do we have any more questions about, like, this scenario with the True Crown and the Ton aggro? I think I have covered every case I could think of. Can anybody think of something that I didn't? We evaluated walking through the door with the True Crown, and a bunch of weird edge cases for, like, why that might work differently. And then we also evaluated teleporting in with the True Crown. and then a whole bunch of like wacky ways to bypass these. As far as we're aware, there is no way to bypass teleporting into the shop other than having Tun be dead. Like, I think Tun notices that unconditionally. I think even if she's not in the shop, like if you manage to get her out of the shop, that still angers Tun. It's a completely different check, hacked in by a different developer after the game's release, but Tun has to be in the shop for the door check. The door check is very lenient. The teleport check is extremely strict, to the point of being so strict that Tun could get mad while stunned, and will pull out the crossbow and turn around to face the player while stunned. It is absurd. I think I hit all the notes that I wanted to on this. So I'm just reading through it one more time to see if I spot anything else. No, that's everything I had. So if nobody has any questions about this, then we will end our segment on Tun True Crown aggro. Idiot.